Good evening. Thank you for attending the ordinary meeting of Council the 24th of June 2024 to the gallery. Good evening, councillors and staff. Acknowledgement of country. Lithgow City Council acknowledges Wiradjuri elders past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation, the original custodians of the land on which Lithgow's communities reside. The Council also extends our respects to our neighbouring nations. Declaration of webcasting. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast and those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements concerning any person, councillor or employee, and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceedings as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. All councillors are here today. There are no apologies. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening?
I'll make a declaration. I think it's a fairly minor one. I have an on-site sewage management system and I wish to speak to that policy.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie.
I have an on-site sewage system as well, but I also wish to speak to that policy.
So they're non-pecuniary, non-significant? All right, thank you. Can have somebody move that Councillor Marnie and Councillor Coleman are going to speak?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Have a seconder, thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. All those in favour say aye. Thank you. Confirmation of the last meeting's minutes, please. Have a mover, thank you.
I'll move it.
I'll second
Councillor
it.
Ring and Councillor Bryce, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Thank you. Oh yes, we have somebody please move the extraordinary minutes as well, thank you.
Have a second.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman, Councillor Goodwin. All those in favour say aye. Carried, thank you. Declared carried. Commemorations and announcements. On behalf of the Lithgow City Council, as Mayor, I express on behalf of councillors and staff sincere sympathy and condolences to families who have lost loved ones since the last council meeting. We've had a horrendous time in our local government area just recently over the last month with many beautiful people that are in our community passing away. So we are thinking of their families. Some good news. Recently, 2 members of our community were recognised in the King's Honours List for 2024, and I would like to take a moment of your time to speak to both of these people. One is deceased, unfortunately, and one is very active in the community still. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge and commemorate the late Mr. Paul Carter. Mr. Carter was a fire captain with the New South Wales Fire and Rescue, who dedicated 52 years to this organisation. Sadly, Mr. Carter passed away in February this year, and the King's Birthday Honour was awarded to him posthumously in recognition of service to the community through emergency response organisations. I wish to extend my congratulations to Mr. Carter's family on behalf of Council, friends and fellow emergency responders who can take pride in this honour and carry Mr. Carter's legacy into the future. Secondly, I would like to recognise Mr. Terence Fitzpatrick, better known as Terry, who was given a King's Birthday Honour for services to the community of Lithgow. Terry Fitzpatrick is a well-known, wonderful man, a volunteer who has spent 56 years as a serving member of St Vincent's de Paul. He has done a huge amount of work in our local government area over a very long period of time. I extend my congratulations to Terry and his family on receiving this honour and thank him for his services to the community. I'm always inspired when I see members of our community recognised in such a significant way and hope that the work of these 2 men encourage others to participate in volunteering and get involved. Thank you. You have to excuse me tonight. I've got lots of things I've got to read out tonight, so I'll do my best. Public forum this evening, thank you. Mike DeVink, is first from Energy Australia. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors, and good people of Lithgow. My name is Mike DeVink. I'm from Energy Australia, Project Director of the Lake Lyle Pumped Hydro Project. I welcome this opportunity to again support our request for the exercise of a part of Energy Australia owned Lot 2 from the registered lease to Council for use of that location for a workers' accommodation village during construction of the proposed Lake Lyle Pumped Hydro Project. I note also that Council is tonight considering other legacy land transfer matters in which Council and Energy Australia have worked together on and are not related to the pumped hydro project. They are to rectify property anomalies that we've been working on with Council for some time. With regards to the proposed pumped hydro and worker village, Energy Australia will be prioritising the hiring of local people and local contractors for the big build and related services needed for the project and for the accommodation village, which will run to hundreds of jobs. The reasons for seeking the exercise of a part of Lot 2 are the worker accommodation village must be included in the upcoming EIS. Raising this now allows proper planning and broader consultation to occur. All planning decisions and approvals must be completed before there can be a financial investment decision. The reasons the Lake Lyle site is preferred are proximity to the main project site, avoids additional traffic to Great Western Highway and Lithgow LGA, minimises total numbers of affected near neighbours, provides attractive worker amenity improving well-being and demeanour. Development of the lake site with utilities provides future options for the site. The village will use only a portion of Lot 2, which allows the opportunity for the public to continue to use the existing camping and fishing spots in that area. Once construction is completed, the workforce village will be decommissioned, but Energy Australia will work with Council to retain any elements that would be beneficial, such as drainage, roads, power, water and wastewater utilities and buildings. Additionally, we will work with Council to work out how the site might be improved so it can be returned to Council under a registered lease and be integrated into any longer term plans that Council may have for the Lake Lyle recreation area. Energy Australia remains committed to ensuring the ongoing recreational use of Lake Lyle for the community. In closing, I want to thank Council for their consideration of this request, and it's my hope that this exercise of land from the Council lease can be approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. DeFink. The next person on the agenda tonight is Mr. Rob White, Concerned Lithgow Community Group Incorporated.
Okay. My name is Rob White. I'm speaking on behalf of the Concerned Lithgow Community Group Inc. and also the numerous recreational users of Lake Lyle. Lake Lyle is one of our major tourist assets that attracts around 2,000 people per day on peak days and a few less than that on non-peak days. For the past 35 years, the public has been able to utilise the facilities down there, and they've enjoyed this under a comfortable arrangement between the community and the various owners of the Lake Lyle itself. We're going to start by looking at some images, as you can already see. Now, first of all, we've got here, this is an image taken from up on Magpie Hollow Road that looks down across Lake Lyle and shows the pristine nature of what it is that's proposed. And you'll see here a black circle that's indicating exactly where this proposed item of the workers' camp is going. With this one, where this is taken is where most people take images of Lake Lyle from up on Magpie Hollow Road. It's sunsets, it's sunrises, it's misty days, and generally it's the beauty of what is on offer with that. This image here is one that we've generated that represents where the village is going. We call it a workers' camp, but others call it a village, and it is directly between where people take most of the images and the lake itself. Now, I can give you an assurance, tourists will not come and marvel at this village or workers' camp, as whichever way you want to call it. It's going to have 500 workers, which previously we thought was only 400, but it's jumped up to 500. And to me, it's baffling why we would allow a workers' camp to go on such a premium tourist area of Lithgow. It's pristine beauty, and basically we're showing that away for a workers' camp. In our opinion, this is a totally selfish act by Energy Australia to claim that they have the interests of the community at heart, yet whenever it comes to a conflict of their projects and the community, the project always wins. So I'm afraid we feel it's fairly hollow, the claims of community benefits. So, and this is especially so when we all know that there are other opportunities that exist for them to do this. So if we look at the next images, which we'll swap over. Now, these are images of the actual proposed work camp area. On the left, you'll see an image taken only 4 days ago from exactly the same location as the one that Energy Australia has done. And this is the Energy Australia one off their website. We're just presenting that, so that's the source of that one. This one's the natural image. This one's the totally doctored image. Now, you'll see that there's iridescent green on this one.
Move an extension of time.
Thank you. All
So-
those in favour say aye. Thank you.
So on this one, you can see there's iridescent green on everything. And this one, which is the natural image, no doctoring whatsoever, that's how it really looks like normal, right? You'll notice on this one, well, first of all, look at this one, see how many trees are or are not in this. Look how many trees suddenly pop up on this one that are meant to be the same image. So those trees are non-existent. They've been put on there for artistic reasons to make it look better. If you looked on this image and you looked on the previous images we showed you, that's a steep slope. Yet on this one, the Energy Australia image is a flat surface, which it is not. Now, it's either got to get excavated enormously or that's an incorrect image. So what we believe is that this has all been doctored, and I've got to say we struggle to understand why it is that Energy Australia feels that determined to ruin our natural environment for what is, by Energy Australia's own admission, 15 long-term jobs. So we're prepared to give a lot of things away in order to get that. We believe that this is a totally dishonest representation of what they are planning. This is reality. That's not doctored at all. Zilch. Whereas that one's quite heavily doctored. And what I'd put it to the councillors is this: who is defining the identity of Lithgow here? It's not the community that's defining the identity. It's allowing Energy Australia, or any other big company for that matter, to come in here and identify what the identity of Lithgow is. We want to define our identity. We don't want them to do that. And I would have thought that council would understand that Lithgow wishes to define its own identity, not that of a company like Energy Australia. It's time for the community to define that identity, and I don't believe that putting a workers' camp in such a prominent location of a tourist area is the way to, in fact, I know it's not the way to do that. I would think it's appalling if the councillors can only see the future of Lithgow through the eyes of an energy company and cannot see the future of Lithgow through things that people value in Lithgow, such as its environment. Because I think and I know at the last meeting, it was admitted by several people that this is an appalling location. It is. There are other opportunities for this to happen. It's just that it's convenient. That's all it is. It's convenient. And it's not in the benefit of Lithgow at all. So I would encourage you to reject this tonight and consider talking to Energy Australia how about they might come up with a better option than this. Thank you.
Mr Henry Heron, thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Having looked at those photographs, one wonders once again why Council would consider agreeing to this proposal. Council has no legal obligation to do so, no moral obligation to do so. It is perfectly free to say no right now. But I want to address the so-called incentives that have been presented to Council by Energy Australia as additional incentives for granting this excision of Lot 2. Under the Council is asked tonight to resolve that it supports excision of Lot 2 from the Lake Lyell lease. Under this lease, EA leases portions of the land it owns at Lake Lyell to Council for the purpose of allowing Council to provide camping grounds for water and other recreational activities. The Council administration recommends that Council agrees to excise part of Lot 2 from the lease. This will give EA all it needs to proceed with the workforce accommodation. Now, what does EA offer Council as an incentive for this gift? Well, the second recommendation is that Council endorse negotiation of option terms to the lease. We see that the lease expires in 2042. And what EA is saying is they will negotiate an extension of the lease for a further 30 years. Now, there's a number of problems with this unpleasant thimble and pea trick. Firstly, all the camping, yes, all the camping, takes place on Council-owned land. None of it is on the lease. None of it expires, if you like to use that word, in 2042. However, if we look at Plan 2 that is before us all, we see that a tiny sliver of land between the camping grounds and the water is on the lease. What EA is saying is if you don't give us Lot 2, then in 2042 the lease will expire and we will be entitled to prevent campers from crossing the few metres from the camping grounds to the lake. Now, these tiny slivers of land will by 2042 have been used for over 50 years by campers to access the water. The idea that Council will not be able to extend the lease after 2042 is utterly ludicrous. This is not an incentive. It gives Council nothing, since so long as Lake Lyell exists, and well beyond 2042, campers on Council-owned land will be accessing the water over these slivers of the lease, whether EA likes it or not. Now, what else does EA offer as an incentive? Well, let us look at the third recommendation. It says Council should negotiate an amendment to the restrictive covenant in favour of EA.
Happy to move an extension.
Have a seconder, thank you.
Yeah, happy to second.
All those in favour say aye. Declared carried. Continue, Mr Heron, thank you.
Thank you. Which prevents use for any industrial, residential or commercial purpose. After over 30 years of use of the Council-owned land as camping grounds for Lithgow locals and outsiders, under the watchful and approving eye of EA and its predecessors, EA now says this use is in breach of the covenant. And unless Council gives up Lot 2, then the threat will be that EA will enforce it. After over 30 years of acquiescence by EA and its predecessors, EA, of course, has lost any right to enforce the covenant. But in any event, the provision by Council of camping grounds for Lithgow locals and outsiders, at small fees obviously designed merely to allow maintenance of the grounds, is not a commercial purpose. Any sensible definition of commercial purpose must involve financial gain. The truth, of course, is that far from operating these camping grounds for a financial gain, Council loses at least $100,000 a year in providing these grounds as a community service. Certainly not a commercial use. I ask what legal advice has Council received to say that a promise to negotiate an amendment to this covenant is an incentive to giving away Lot 2. Because it's not, because the covenant doesn't exist. It doesn't provide any threat to council. There is one final so-called incentive offered by EA to entice council to give away Lot 2. It is the promise by EA to negotiate with the General Manager for payment of a monetary contribution to council. This incentive is described by council as, quotes, an offset to the public being unable to use the portion of the land that would be excised from the lease. It means that council will sell out the Lithgow community for a few pieces of silver. To suggest that an unspecified cash transfer should be regarded as an incentive to allowing this monstrous campsite being established on the shores of Lithgow's beautiful lake is beyond belief. Does council really think that when the citizens of Lithgow hear about this, they will not be seriously outraged? So there we have the three incentives. The first two give nothing to council because council does not now and never, ever will need them. The third, unnamed cash offer, which the GM is given discretion, questionably I think, to negotiate and agree to, is too awful to contemplate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heron. Mr. Mike Maxwell, please. Thank you.
Thank you for providing this opportunity, Madam Mayor, councillors. Michael Maxwell is my name. Perhaps I should place a caveat on what I'm about to say. I'm not purporting to provide legal advice. However, as a member of the New South Wales Bar Association and the Australian Bar Association, I'm giving you my opinion on matters directly affecting agenda item 3.9. So the first point, and this is regarding Councillor O'Connor. Councillor O'Connor should declare a pecuniary interest and abstain from any discussion or vote on agenda item 3.9. Energy Australia has openly stated on multiple occasions that it plans to use local contractors for construction of the Lake Lyell pumped hydro. A substantial component of the pumped hydro proposal will involve extensive excavation and blasting as specified in Energy Australia documents. The disclosure by councillors and designated persons' returns for Humphrey O'Connor has included under interests and positions in corporation, Chemdar Proprietary Limited, position, director, description.
Point of order. I'm sorry, but it is entirely up to an individual councillor to declare a pecuniary interest. I can't make a statement that a councillor in this room has a pecuniary interest. I believe if you believe he is in breach of it, that you refer it to the Office of Local Government. I don't think it's appropriate to raise it.
Mr. Maxwell, I'll take Councillor Ring as advice. So we're not here tonight to do anything else but talk about the subject. If Councillor O'Connor feels fit, he would and should have perhaps, I don't know whether he's even worked there, I have no idea. But at this moment in time, continue with your story, not about a single councillor. Thank you.
Exist, and that the councillor perhaps should address that issue. I'll move on. The second point, the proposed delegation of authority is flawed for three reasons. One, it is not possible to delegate a nebulous concept to someone. The parameters need to be defined. Please note that at page 66 of the agenda, under the heading Executive Summary, which states other items discussed in this report are the administration's request, which are being negotiated concurrently with the request to excise part of Lot 2. Those other items are set out as the three incentives, all of which are to be negotiated. If these other items are being negotiated concurrently with the request to excise part of Lot 2, then no decision can be made on the question of excising part of Lot 2 until The other items have been negotiated and completed. Why would the Council delegate authority to the General Manager when he is leaving? Giving him an open-ended right of negotiation is a recipe for disaster, especially since the current General Manager will be leaving shortly and therefore can make any decision he likes without censure because he has gone. In the agenda under the heading Administrative Recommendations at point 4, the General Manager is authorised to sign all documents and do all things necessary to give effect to the resolutions made. This allows the General Manager to negotiate any possibility, and in doing so, it abrogates the Council's duties without assessing the final agreement. The Council cannot delegate a responsibility where the parameters aren't defined. In doing so, it would be in breach of its code of conduct. It's also acknowledged at page 70 of the agenda that a decision to surrender, exchange or reclassify land is a non-delegable function under section 337(1) of the Local Government Act, and that includes all aspects of negotiation. The purported act of delegation would render any motion illegal and null and void. I suggest you take a course of action that avoids the potential for this sort of litigation and ensure that the final position is determined by Council, not by the General Manager. Finally, the Council is under no obligation whatsoever to agree to excise a portion of the lease. If it does not agree, there is nothing that Energy Australia can do about it. It does not invoke the provisions of the Land and Environment Court, nor any other rights of appeal. It is purely a civil matter. The simple course of action would be to deny the excision of the lease, and the Lake Lyell precinct would not be faced with the eyesore that this motion envisages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Are there any residents in the public gallery that would like to speak tonight? No? All right, thank you. I have 2 Merrill minutes this evening. The motion in front of anyone with an agenda is 1.1, which is Merrill Minute, delegation of authority to the new General Manager and establishment of a General Manager's Performance Review Panel. The recommendation is between 1 dot and dot 11. Could I have somebody please? Oh, I don't need a seconder. As the mover of the motion, I would like to speak to the motion. The commentary is, at the extraordinary council meeting held on the 13th of June 2024, the council delegated authority to me as mayor to make an offer of a contract of employment as general manager to the candidate determined by the council, subject to the final security checks. Offered the position of general manager to Mr. Ross Gurney as the next general manager of Lithgow City Council. Mr. Gurney accepted the offer and he will take up the position on the 1st of July 2024. There is a need for Council to provide delegations to Mr. Gurney to enable him to properly discharge the responsibilities of the role. The proposed motion, the recommendation in this minute, deals with this. I congratulate Mr. Gurney on his appointment and wish him well. The establishment of a General Manager Performance Review Panel, the remainder of this minute draws from briefings that I have received from the General Manager and the Acting Human Resources Manager. These briefings are based on the Office of Local Government. Guidelines for the appointment and oversight of a General Manager's position, which is attached to this report. The performance of the General Manager must be reviewed at least annually against the agreed performance and criteria of the position. Councillors may also choose to undertake more frequent interim reviews of the General Manager's performance. The agreed performance criteria must be set out in an agreement that is signed within 3 months of the commemoration of the General Manager's contract. The Council must establish a performance review panel led by the Mayor and delegate the task of the undertaking to the General Manager's performance reviews to the panel. The guidelines recommend that full responsibility for the performance manager be delegated to the performance review panel including discussions about performance, any actions that should be taken, and determine the performance agreement. Performance review panels should be made up of 4 councillors and comprise the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and another councillor nominated by council and a councillor nominated by the new General Manager. The council may also consider including an independent observer on the panel. Panel members should be trained in performance management of general managers. The role of the review panel includes conducting performance reviews, reporting the findings and recommendations of the review to the council, and development of the performance agreement. The council and the general manager may also agree on the involvement of a suitable qualified external facilitator, such as a human resource professional, to assist with the performance review process and the development of the new performance agreement. That person may be selected by the council or the performance review panel. Councillors who are not members of the performance review panel may be invited to contribute to the performance review process by providing feedback to the Mayor on the General Manager's performance relevant to the agreed performance criteria. All councillors should be notified of relevant dates in the performance review cycle and be kept advised of the panel's findings and recommendations. The panel should report back to the governing body of the council in a closed session on the findings and recommendations of performance reviews as soon as practicable following any performance review. This should not be an opportunity to debate the results or visit the General Manager's performance review. The proposed motion, the recommendation, is this minute has the effect that council is following the Office of the Local Government OLG guidelines for the appointment and oversight of general managers. The proposal is to engage Local Government New South Wales to provide facilitation and advice to the panel. Local Government New South Wales provides specialist employment services to councils, and they are able to be promptly engaged, recognising that the performance agreement must be finalised within the first 3 months. The proposal is also included an independent observer on the panel. I'd like any discussion on the motion, thank you.
2 questions, if I may, Mayor Statham. Currently, the General Manager Performance Review includes all councils. It's on the council's webpage. It's how it operated on the last council. I haven't been involved any on this council. Why are we looking to change that?
The current General Manager will speak to that. Thank you, Councillor Ring.
I'd prefer you to answer the question.
Oh, all right. Happy to do that. Very happy to do that. The guidelines are good practice. I believe that they should be followed. The decision tonight isn't about the past, it's about the future. And there was a new, I think the guidelines changed in 2022. Your other question, Councillor Ring?
My other question is that the performance agreement needs to be under the guidelines, and let's stress that they are guidelines, within 3 months. This is putting us into possibly caretaker mode, all sorts of issues. Then the General Manager, the new General Manager, has 2 months to prepare an action plan on how to implement that policy. What time frame are you looking at to get this done?
General Manager will answer that. Thank you, Councillor Ring.
I can answer because it's the standard contract that applies to the position. So as the report acknowledges, the performance agreement needs to be finalised within 3 months, and then the new General Manager has the time period specified in the report to
With respect, Mr. Butler, it's not answering my question. I've asked the Mayor, what time period does she envisage having this finalised? Are we looking at having this done by the next council meeting? Because after that, we're in caretaker mode. That's what I'd like to understand, what the time frame is.
Yes, totally understand. We need the new General Manager to start ASAP. The date has been set, so we'll be following this through after the meeting tonight as soon as possible, Councillor Ring.
Okay, then I'd like to move an amendment and that is I would like an additional point, point 12, that training in performance management be undertaken by the General Manager Performance Review Panel prior to their first meeting, consistent with the guidelines.
Thank you, Councillor.
Would someone like to second it?
Right, have a seconder, please.
Yeah, I'm happy
Thank
to
you,
second
Councillor Marnie. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Ring?
I think if we're going to follow the guidelines, I think councillors need to understand the process of undertaking performance reviews, what the key issues are. I have sat on performance reviews in this council in the past, and they were not adequate. Key performance indicators were included that were so broad that we could not make an informed decision. I think any councillors on this need to understand the process, how it works, and how they should be reviewed.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any other debate, please? Councillor Marnie, thank you.
Yeah, just to concur with what Councillor Ring said there, but I'd also suggest that this is an interim review panel because there's some possibility, in fact, none of the panel members will be available to be honoured in October. So I think given as Councillor Rings pointed out, the closest to our caretaker stage, and then we're in a new council term. So, but I do agree that we should be moving the issue along.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor McGee?
Yes, I do sort of support the amendment. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Ross Gooding at his appointment of the new General Manager. And, sorry, Ross.
Thank you, Councillor McGee.
Yeah, and thank Craig Butler for his fantastic work over the years. Like, that's many years of bringing about economic surety and playing a major role in the economic surety and the future of Lithgow City and the LGA in entirety. So I'd like to thank him for that as well. As far as the review panel goes, I think it does make sense to have a small panel. I think that training that panel is a brilliant idea. I think that training the panel should be left until after the next election with the new council sworn in. But I think that the process should be started tonight. So if Councillor Ring was amenable, I would have another dot point that we actually all arrange that we actually select this panel this evening.
Councillor Ring, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think basically the training should be done. It's not a difficult task to get it organised. It can be done online. It is critical. If we're not prepared to do that and set this up properly, then wait until the new council. Let them do it. Set of guidelines. It's not going to be a legal issue. Let's do it properly. As for appointing the committee, I assumed we were going to appoint the committee tonight anyway. So I don't think that's really relevant. But I think it's critical that we do the training. Talking an hour, 2 hours training. And I'm sure the local government New South Wales can organise it online. It's not a big ask. But I think it should be done, and there should be good examples, because I've sat on performance reviews of the Upper Macquarie County Council previously. Okay, single issue council, but the way they did it was brilliant. And I think it's really important to have training. It's critical. Training should be undertaken by council for the full term of council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. The General Manager will speak to that. Thank you.
Just to speak to Councillor McGee's issue first, which was just remind me, sorry, Ross. Sorry.
Oh, about determining the...
So sorry, my apologies, Mayor. The motion already speaks to the need for the council to determine the composition of the panel. It recommends the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, and but it leaves it to council to nominate the third council. Of course, the GM then later determines the fourth councillor. That's a matter for him after 1 July or 2 July. As for the other matter, yeah, it was always the intention that the panel would be trained, and that was the very basis, again, for installing local government New South Wales HR expertise on the panel, because they'll additionally be there training as you go. You've only given a short period of time, so you need to develop the first performance plan within 3 months, so you can't spend too long with the training. But I think the motion as crafted speaks to all of that.
Yeah, I don't think it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr General Manager and Councillor Ring. Any other debate on this? On the amendment, Councillor Ring's amendment, Councillor Leslie?
Thank you, Mayor Statham. Point 7 says, Council include an independent observer on the panel. I assume that no such person is going to be recommended tonight, as I've had no indication of any independent person, and should anyone be recommended tonight, that would be a poor system of governance on this body. So how would such a person be chosen, and who would make that decision?
Councillor Ring, I can definitely inform you there'll be nobody chosen tonight for sure.
My name's
excuse me,
Councillor Leslie.
Not speaking.
Pardon, Councillor Ring?
I'm not speaking. Councillor Leslie speaking.
Oh, Councillor Leslie, there'll be nobody chosen tonight, I'm sure about that. It's recommending that occur in the very near future. Thank you. So Councillor Ring's amendment, are there any more speaking? Councillor Ring, right of reply?
No, just put it. I honestly don't think it hurts. Implied training isn't training. I think we need the training, and it should be there, and it should be done at the beginning of each term of council.
I'll put the motion, the amendment, sorry. All those in favour of the amendment? I'll call the division on that. Thank you. Councillor, hands up, please. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ring, Councillor Marnie, Councillor McGee, Councillor O'Connor. Against? Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, and I will vote for the amendment. Thank you. So the amendment now becomes a motion. All those in favour of the motion, thank you. They're not unanimous, thank you. Yeah. My second mayoral minute tonight.
Just a question. When are we voting for the panel member?
I would say we'll be voting very soon.
It should be done now.
Right, so we won't be nominating the independent one tonight, Councillor Ring. Councillor Leslie, sorry.
So we're reopening the matter, as Councillor Ross picked up. We need to seek nominations for a permanent councillor.
So we're seeking nominations now for the councillors that wish to be on the panel.
I'll nominate Councillor Marnie.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Councillor McGee.
Thank you. Anyone else from the floor? Right. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour of Councillor Marnie? Those in favour of Councillor McGee? I'll call a division on that, thank you. Those in favour of Councillor Marnie? Those in favour of Councillor McGee? So Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ring, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Marnie was for Councillor Marnie to be on that panel. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor and Councillor McGee and Councillor Statham would have voted for Councillor McGee. Councillor McGee, you're on that panel now, thank you. Mr Ross Gurney, I'll come back to you in a moment, Councillor Ring, for your right of reply.
It's already been dealt with, Councillor. It's already been dealt with.
Oh. And as Mr Gurney is not General Manager just at the moment, he will choose his candidate next week. Thank you, or the week. Tonight is 1.1, the mayoral minute. Sorry, got the wrong one. So many pieces of paper here tonight. Thank you. Mayoral minute, the 24th of the 6th, 2024, retirement of Lithgow City Council General Manager, Mr Craig Butler. I would like to take a moment to recognise the outstanding work of our outgoing General Manager, Mr Craig Butler, on what will be his final council meeting at Lithgow City Council tonight. After a storied career of local government, Mr Butler joined Lithgow City Council in May 2020 and was faced with a number of complex challenges on his arrival. Our community was recovering from the 2019 bushfires, and the world was grappling with the uncertainty of COVID at the best times, all the best of times, that the transition between two general managers is a delicate and complex situation. These factors made the process seem almost impossible. Mr. Butler met these challenges in a calm and considered fashion, something that he has been characteristic of for the entire tenure with Lithgow City Council. If you speak to him, he will tell you that this job has not been easy, but the work that he has done every day for the last four years has been necessary and incredible. Our city faces the challenges shared by many regional councils, and Mr. Butler has approached these challenges in a measured way, committing to a high standard of waste, water and sewer services, including the construction of the Cullumbullen sewer, relining the programs, new pump stations and the Waste Recovery Centre. The General Manager has also worked tirelessly to manage and improve our road network in the face of overwhelming complications. There have been 6 natural disasters declarations during the General Manager's time with the Council, and I know even as Craig heads to his final week as General Manager, he has run off his feet. He is in the trenches every minute of the day, advocating to the state and federal governments to provide essential funding for disaster recovery projects across our city, including the Walgan Valley, at the point of urgency. In his time with the Council, Mr. Butler has had keen focus on developing and future-proofing the economy of the city. Through the special rate variation, the General Manager helped to formally establish the Lithgow Emerging Economy Project, a plan to guide the successful transition of Lithgow's economy. I've really enjoyed working with Mr. Butler, and especially seeing the investment he has made to meet with, listen to and speak openly with all manner of community groups and others. Mr. Butler acts with collaboration and consultation at the heart of his work, and has proudly worked alongside this sitting council, the council administration, community progress associations and our neighbouring local councils representing the Central West New South Wales Joint Organisation to drive better outcomes and opportunities to our community. He has positioned Lithgow Council as a trusted partner. In just 4 years, Mr. Butler has greatly reformed the council's leadership team and the broader administration. There is a new energy amongst the council workforce, and every day they are working hard to make a positive difference. A good part of this result of the council's vastly improved financial position, which Mr. Butler has achieved during his tenure. What an enormous privilege it has been for me to work with this General Manager, a General Manager who has had a vision in progressing our challenging time ahead with transitioning. Craig has never backed away from the hard tasks, making decisions that were required to have a sustainable local government into the future. I want to personally thank this General Manager, Craig Butler, for his wisdom, guidance and experience, and wish him all the very best in his future as he commits himself spending time with his wife, Wendy, and his family and his granddaughter, little Florence. He's done above the call of duty. I'm recommending that Council thank the outgoing General Manager, Craig Butler, for his work and dedication to the Lithgow City and wish him all the very best in his retirement. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this? Oh, thank you. I'll put my mayor on minute. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor McGee, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman. Against is Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie.
No, leave me there. That's fine. I can live with that. No, it's okay. I can live with it.
I can't see your hand, Councillor Ring.
That's okay. Leave me as against. That's fine.
No, I won't. I'll retract that immediately. I couldn't see your hand. Could you put your hand up, please, Councillor Ring? That's better. I can see.
That's good.
Thank you very much. A notice of motion from Councillor Marnie reporting on proceedings of Bushfire Management Committee's meeting to Council. Thank you.
Can I have
a mover? Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Given we got a business paper and a subsequent business paper that we're travelling with parallel items, will we deal with the subsequent business paper at the end. Is that what I'm seeing?
I think, Councillor Martin, I picked up that there is an error in the supplementary. I think it bears the same number as, is that what you're saying, Councillor Marnie? Yeah, so the notice of motion is 2.1. Mayor, I'm suggesting that we place the civic ballroom floor replacement as item 312 and deal with it at that point in the business paper.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Ring and Mr General Manager. Councillor Marnie?
I'm happy to.
Yeah,
Happy to second. Oh.
I have an additional point I'd like to add to it.
Yeah, I have no points to add to it. I'll just.
Councillor Marnie, thank you.
A microphone on. This is obviously an issue I feel very strongly about. The importance of our council being present as part of the bushfire management committees is critical. We find ourselves in a mixed landscape where we interplay with the Blue Mountains Escarpment as well as the granite landscape to the west, particularly for the eastern sector and arguably also down into the Oberon area. Probably two of the highest risks, along with the Cape Valley, with that interplay with those landscapes. For me, I raised this issue in January and I got an assurance that we would be attending these meetings. Now, I understand that the most recent June, we didn't attend the meeting, neither council staff or the mayor attended. I raised the issue of using alternates, and that was basically brought to me not to bother my head about it. It's all under control. We don't need to be doing that. I'm also, and I've read the report. I've spent 30 years around the public sector. Yes, I understand what's being said to me here, but let's be clear. The Rural Fire Service is very clear in the role of the Bushfire Management Committee, and I'm going to quote it. It's established to ensure key stakeholders have a say on bushfire management activities for the benefit of the community. It also talks that they have a role in developing a bushfire risk management plan, which is critical that they engage the community as part of it and community representative. It isn't a meeting that the community isn't part of that conversation. Our LGA has about 50% of forested landscape. So again, it plays into that risk, and communication and consultation with the community is essential in addressing that risk. Matters that are being dealt with it are dealing with issues such as asset protection zones to protect properties. We don't have a lot of public land in the Lithgow Valley. The majority is privately owned, but Hassans Walls is a body of bushland that immediately adjoins the southern residential section of Lithgow. Fortunately, the pattern of the 2013 State Mine Fire and the Gosper Mountain Fire all basically punctuated in Doctor's Gap and then proceeded to go up and burn into Clarence. The opportunity for it to extend over into Hassans Walls is there. Also want to see that there's a coordinated approach to fire trails so that private and public lands can be defended safely, and that's also matters that are coming up in this committee. I'm sorry, but I don't accept that because an email has come and not attached with a calendar appointment creates an impediment for us attending.
Excuse me, Councillor Marnie, just before you go on, I do have to speak to that because the last meeting I did not get an invitation, and I believe Mr. Edgecombe did not get an invitation. The previous meeting I went to Bathurst. The one before that I was in at Lithgow. So, you know, excuse me.
Point of order, I'm actually talking to the June meeting at the moment.
We weren't invited, so you can't go to a party that you're not invited to. We didn't even know it was on.
Okay.
It's not in my calendar at all, the council's calendar or my calendar. And the other point, you said I'm not chairing the meetings. You also can't chair a meeting unless you're asked. I chaired every meeting for 4 years in the first time of council.
I never said that.
It's in the agenda. about chairing the meetings. So, well, unless I'm very wrong, I'll apologise if that's the case. When the gentleman that was in charge died last year, he was a great asset, absolutely brilliant asset. He then changed to another gentleman, and that gentleman clearly chairs the meeting. They've changed the formats considerably.
Okay, I'll just answer, given what you said to me, I'll ask a simple question.
Absolutely. Happy
Did the
for-
council receive the minutes from the previous with the next meeting's location? Yes
Jonathan,
or no?
would you like to
I'm
answer
not
that?
interested in the conversation.
Through you, Mayor Statham, we did indeed. However, when a calendar invite are received, it automatically goes into people's calendars and makes it makes it much easier for the mayor, who has a very, very busy calendar, to make that time and be aware of those meetings. So it's a simple request to include those calendar invites so that we can best be prepared for future meetings.
Okay, I've finished speaking to it. However, I do want to. I'm
Just
interested.
one moment, please, Mr. Edgens, not finished. Sorry,
Yeah,
Councillor Martin.
I'm happy to.
Sorry, Mayor Statham. I will add that we did send a formal letter to the RFS requesting a change in practice back to what it used to be, where we received those formal calendar invitations, and we've been advised that their practice has reverted back to what it always was, and council's attendance will continue in that vein.
I've already RSVP'd to the meetings I've been invited to that I've received invitations to.
I'll finish speaking to it at that point, but I'm interested in the additional point that Councillor Ring wants to bring to it.
A seconder? Who was the seconder? Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Councillor Coleman.
Considering what I've just heard, I'm just going to hover on point 3 of Councillor Marning's recommendation. Councillors' alternatives are nominated and endorsed by the council to ensure that consistent representation occurs at the Lithgow Bushfire Management Committee. It's stated, and you've reconfirmed that, Mayor Statham, that you never received invitations. The management...
Matter of June, the June meeting, I never received an invitation.
Okay, so you never received an invitation for the matter of June. But emails, according to the management comment, it states that emails are sent by the RFS advising of the dates, but no calendar invitations. My question is, do we have a policy stipulating that if a calendar invitation is not received, then we don't go? Is it just that we've been advised of the dates, but we don't have a calendar invitation, which I understand, but we know the dates? Wouldn't you assume that we had been invited due to the fact that we've got the dates? Would you then think about ringing them and saying, do we need to be at these meetings? Not you personally, Councillor Statham, but a question through to Mr. Edgecombe. Would you not follow up? Or is it just policy that if you don't receive a calendar invitation, you just don't go, even though you know the dates? Well, it says in the management comment, emails are sent by the RFS advising of dates.
Yes, but we didn't receive the date. I did not receive an invitation or a date. You can have my personal diary if you would like to see.
I'm not interested in
I've
your
already
personal
got the next
diary.
invitation in.
My question
The point is, they didn't get an email.
So no emails were received, no invitations were received?
I have never received an email or an invitation to the last meeting, and nor did Mr. Edgecombe.
So has this been rectified?
Go to a meeting that I didn't get invited.
Has this been rectified?
Okay, point of order. Can we just wait till we get one answer?
That's what I want, an answer.
Thank you.
I think so. Just last week, I think it was, the RFS wrote to council in response to our representations. They said, more or less, my words, not theirs, they'll change their They said they'll change their practice and revert back to sending calendar invites. So every meeting that we've received a calendar invite for, the mayor and Mr. Edgecombe have been at, there was a period where we didn't. Yes, if one ferret around in minutes or emails, you may have found that, but not calendar invites. I have two executive assistants that service the mayor and my calendars. Pavlov's dog or conditioned response is cut in here, but we're used to seeing calendar invites, and that's the way of the contemporary world. The RFS has corrected this, and we're at every meeting that they're inviting us to and actively participating.
Just for your information, if Mr. Edgecombe is unable to go, which I think might have been once or twice in about 8 years, Mr. Dave Anderson often attends the meetings as well as Mr. Edgecombe. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to, if I
Are
could,
you
Mayor
finished,
Stapleton,
Councillor Coleman?
I'd like to move an amendment or an additional point if the mover and seconder are happy with it.
What is your additional point?
The additional
Councillor Ring?
point is that council write to the New South Wales Rural Fire Services Commissioner seeking clarification with respect to the Chifley Area Command allegedly forcing the relocation of the Lithgow Communications Brigade to Bathurst amid threats of disbanding the unit if they refuse, and what level of community consultation has occurred.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Who was the seconder, please? Councillor?
No, I've asked whether or not they'll accept it as an
Yes, I'm just
additional
going
point.
to ask if they'll accept that dot point. You accept that? Thank you, Councillor Marnie. That's an extra dot point for the other councillors. So we'll put that up on the screen. Thank you, Councillor Ring. I think it might be up now.
Yeah, it's up. Okay. I attended what should have been the AGM for Lithgow Communications Brigade, which has approximately 30 members. It was a very interesting meeting where I was there with Councillor Marnie. We were observers, we were invited by the brigade, and it is clear that pressure is being applied for them to relocate to Bathurst. I don't think that's acceptable. They've been told, no, basically told, if you don't go, basically you're out. We have 30 people experience. I'm tired of the downgrading of fire services in this community. We have more Section 44s in our community than either Oberon or Bathurst. I don't know why this new U-Butte facility was built in Bathurst, I don't care, but we need to ensure that our facility in Silcock Street can meet the needs of our community. If this brigade is forced to move, they'll lose 26 plus of their members. They'll resign. Now the problem, and I had issues, I went to a couple of meetings when I was on the last council, I stood in for the mayor. And the RFS management fails to understand that they are dealing with volunteers. And they needed to be treated with the respect that they deserve. And I saw no evidence of this at this meeting. Our volunteers, many of them are older, and perform an invaluable role during bushfires. And this community cannot afford to have that facility downgraded. At the meeting, it was stated by the Chifley area manager that he'd need $500,000 to make that building suitable. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying it. Our brigades, if there is a Section 44, I'm not going to drive out for briefings to Bathurst. You have briefings locally. I want to know if this is a policy of the department or if this is just a local issue. And I want to know why our community has not been advised of it. That's just not acceptable.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. So, Councillor Marnie, would you like to speak to that as well? You've accepted that point.
Yeah. Wasn't really interested in going down the rabbit hole of why we weren't there and why we were. What I'm interested in is where was this discussed with our representation of our community, our elected representatives. This concerns me deeply that also referenced in the AGM was the condition of our building, that it wasn't suitable to be occupied for its function. And as Councillor Ring speaks to, I know one senior member of the brigade has already resigned. And so what we're losing is the most valuable asset is trained volunteers who are now stepping out because they're not being part of the conversation. I found it a very interesting conversation. Having been in volunteer management for 30 years, there were some moments of communication which I'm completely lost. How you speak to volunteers like that, and I'm also lost how you don't include them in the decision making. Also got an email from another brigade captain, a very senior brigade captain who has also resigned, having been approached by a number of brigades. I think we need to, one of their concerns was our attendance and participation in these meetings. So I'm happy to accept Councillor Ring's additional point. I think we need to represent our community in regard to proper consultation around the movement of this to what appears to me to be a white elephant built in the low risk end of the bushfire region, leaving us in the highest risk end of it. And Councillor Ring spoke correctly to the number of Section 44s and the number of call-outs. This is where it is the hottest zone in this region. So that's why I brought this up. I brought it up in January and I was given assurances that everything's in place. I'm I believe a fairly accepting, and I'll allow people space, but then again, I get the same comments coming back to me through brigade members that we as a council aren't at their meetings.
Okay. Any more discussions?
I'd like to speak on the amendment if I could please, Mayor Statham. In regards to the amendment...
it's a dot point.
Dot point, sorry. Yeah, thank you for that correction. In regards to the dot point, I've also been advised that bush captains have resigned, which is great concerning. If we treat volunteers with disrespect, we won't have volunteers, and I think that needs to be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor McGee.
Yes, I was a bit, I don't know, bamboozled by what could be gained by the all of the minutes for that many meetings being forwarded to us. But are they readily available? Like, are they on record for council? Because this is not a council committee. But do we, through you, Mayor, would we have copies of those minutes readily available, or because it's not one of our committees? That's just one question.
Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. You're correct, it's not a council committee, but the reports are circulated to those who are registered as members of the BFMC. So they are available, and there are no issues complying with the recommendation proposed in the report.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
No, I'm still speaking.
But could I just clarify something, if I could,
Just wait
just on that question?
I've just cut Councillor McGee off. He can finish first, thank you.
No, but I do like the clarity of point 4. We need to support our rural fire services, and especially the volunteers. The things that happen to fire captains and the way they can be treated by armchair firefighters in cities and on the Central Coast, telling them what to do out this way, is just atrocious, the stories that I've heard as well. So any support that we can lend, and I think that point 4 speaks to that and speaks well to it. I think that also, you know, like with older people are going to leave the fire service, you know, especially the volunteers, because they're getting older. It's not an easy thing to do, fighting fires. It's rigorous. So we need to be doing things to help them attract younger people to this profession. And it's a volunteer thing, so it's community building. Also, if the building needs renovation, we should be keeping an eye on grants to really assist that, so that we can keep this facility in Lithgow. I think it's of paramount importance. So I support it.
Mayor Statham, with respect to the reports, I'd just like to draw to attention on item 5.3 of tonight's agenda. It's delegates' reports for the bushfire management committee meetings held on the 6th of February and the 4th of June. Just that going forward, I think we should just have those tabled and made available.
Sorry, Councillor Ring, just repeat what you said. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Item 5.3 of tonight's agenda.
Yes.
is the delegates' report from the Bushfire Management Committee meetings held on the 6th of February and the 4th of June this year, which is not inconsistent with what's being asked in this notice of motion. They're already being tabled. They're being tabled now, so they should be tabled in the future.
I agree with that, Councillor Ring, totally. It's one of my favourite committees. So I've got a farm. I know what fires are like. I was here when the 2013 fire and the 2019. It's a nightmare. Any other debate on this, please? Councillor Goodwin.
Yes, Nathan. What I'm asked to vote on tonight is that we're going to reaffirm its support and recognition for the Rural Fire Service primary concept role as a volunteer organisation, which I think we're doing. Councillor alternates are nominated and endorsed by the council to ensure consistent representation, which I think that's already been done as well. And council bring back a report for the RFS from the RFS meetings to regular council meetings, which Councillor Ring just brought up. That's already here. So I don't see why we're actually voting on what's already here. But if Councillor Ring, if this does not get up, would like to bring his point forward to a business of great urgency, I would certainly vote for that.
Yeah, I'm happy
Thank
to
you,
do that.
Councillor Goodwin. Mr General Manager, thank you.
Just by way of clarification for the councillors, those 3 points are the decision that the council took in January, and then Councillor Mahoney's notice of motion, his recommendations, Councillor Goodwin is on page 7, the other 3 points. So the difference is that I think Councillor Mahoney asking for the reports. So we've already resolved that they come to council meetings. That's why the report's later in this meeting, giving effect to that. But Councillor Mahoney's request is that they come to an operations committee first, and that the agenda minutes for the last 3 years be provided. And the council last time didn't nominate its alternate. So in any event, we need to do that tonight, either by way of the notice of motion or separately.
And that was in within 5 working days. Is that?
Yeah. No, that's the notice of motion asked for the minutes and the agenda to come within 5 working days to all the council.
So could we please have exactly what we're voting on so that everyone is
Screen.
I haven't got a screen. So can it be read out to the public, please?
Through you, Mayor Statham. The recommendation is points 1 to 3 as per the business paper. Point 4 is that council write to the New South Wales Rural Fire Services Commissioner seeking clarification with respect to the Chifley Area Command allegedly forcing the relocation of the Lithgow Communications Brigade to Bathurst amid threats of disbanding the unit if they refuse, and what level of community consultation has occurred.
Thank you, Mr Gurney. That's very clear. Right of reply, Councillor Mahoney, thank you.
Yes, I'd like to write a reply. And just first off, Councillor Goodwin spoke to the first 3 points. That's part of the commentary with the background to how we found ourselves here. I'm not putting that back in front of us tonight. Secondly, the reason I've asked for the minutes, I actually want to track the pathway to amalgamation, because I understand they were amalgamating on administrative, which was what I was informed. Secondly, it's my understanding under the Rural Fires Act that we are a party, as is the Farmers Federation, as is the Nature Conservation Council, as is a whole host of other community people. How we guide our representative in these meetings when we have not had the minutes provided to us. In regard to the reports, they came on the 17th. I put my notice of motion in on the 14th. I'll leave it at that. You might find that the first 3 points are irrelevant. I'm here to do good governance on behalf of our community. If you find that irrelevant, that's up to you.
Thank you, Councillor Mahoney. All those in favour of the motion? Against? I'll call the division. Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ring, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Leslie, Councillor McGee are for the motion. Against is Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Bryce and Councillor Statham. Thank you. I'll declare that carried. Thank you. No, it was a point and he accepted.
However, does council need to nominate alternates?
We need to nominate alternates.
I'll wait till the councillors are back in the room, thank you, before we nominate an alternate.
No, new council can revisit.
We might just move on to the business paper on page 9, thank you. 3.1, budget allocation for the West Barnfield Sewer Pumping Station. Could I have a mover, thank you.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. A seconder, thank you. O'Connor, thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Bryce.
There's nothing much to say. The report sort of mentions everything we need to do.
Thank you. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I just want to mention the difficulties out there with the extremely hard rock and the good job that the contractors are doing there. And it's going to cost a few extra 400 grand or whatever, but it's necessary for the whole lot of the subdivisions out there, so I'm happy for it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Anyone else? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, Mayor Statham. So let me understand this. We are being asked to approve an additional 250,000 budget. It is stated in the report that the proposed budget allocation will not significantly impact the reserve because of the savings made in other sewer capital projects. Considering Mr. Gurney is the Chief Financial Officer for another 7 days, I'd like his thoughts on this matter, or Mr. Trupp. So, yeah, just confirming that that's...
Mr. Trupp will answer that.
Mr. Trupp? Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Statham. Yes, so we've added a number of savings under our budget allocations this year in the sewer fund. So, for example, the inlet works project that we're doing at Lithgow sewage treatment plant, we've saved in the realm of about $600,000 on that project. On the Maddox Lane sewer pumping station, we've also saved about $300,000 on that one. So they'll more than offset the changes to the budget on this project.
I have another question, if I may, Mayor Statham.
Yes.
The project also refers to rock fragments and indicated that a historical campsite used by Indigenous groups, and that's why this has come before us as well. Have we consulted with Indigenous groups within the local government area about the rock fragments? Are they aware of this issue?
Mr. Trapp, thank you, Councillor Coleman.
Through you, Mayor Statham, I believe in the first instances as part of the REF, there was some consultation where when the site was founded, it was sent out to the concerned parties regarding that, and then that information was, well, what information was received was put back into the report, and hence why we've gone about the unboring side of it to avoid that area altogether. But I believe they have been consulted.
Mayor Statham, I'd like to move an amendment, if I may.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Ring.
I'd like to amend point 2 to read, accept contract variations without the underbore of the heritage items for the amount totalling 598,590. The rest remains the same. And then there is an additional point that an Aboriginal heritage impact permit be sought for the removal of the heritage site.
I'm happy to second that. I want to hear what he has to say.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Ring.
Firstly, in this report, it states that we've got an archaeologist telling us that Getting this permit through, which is called an AHIP, will be 18 months to 2 years. I've worked in national parks. I worked as an archaeologist for several months down in Sydney with national parks dealing with these sorts of permits. I'm aware of the policy. I checked the policy. It is 14 days to confirm that the application is complete. It is 60 days to have it reviewed. I phoned up the Heritage Concierge because the delegated authority for approving these is with New South Wales Heritage Office. And I questioned the timing. And the timing is as I stated, 14 days to approve, 60 days for approval. I have spoken to some Indigenous people in this community. Not all sites are significant. This area, even if you look at the aerial, it's been disturbed significantly. We've been asked $140,000 to underbore this without first applying to have this site potentially destroyed. Several stone artefacts, are they? Is it a campsite? It's all debatable. I'm not really impressed with the fact we're going to have to tender, design and construct. We've got the same company doing the REF. We've got an archaeologist basically misleading us. This is not good enough. We have tight budgets. Hard decisions allegedly have been made about our financial position. I'm not prepared to see $140,000 squandered because we can't get a piece of paperwork through to the government. It's not good enough. It needs to be dealt with.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Anybody else wishing to speak on this? Councillor Bryce?
I'm a strong believer that any artefact should be left on country where they are. So I don't support removal of these artefacts at all.
Point of order, I didn't say removal. Destruction of the site doesn't mean they're removed. The sites can be reburied and relocated on the site, which is consistent with Indigenous practice in this area.
Yeah, I just don't want any of it removed, and I want it left on country because it says removal of heritage site. Sought for the removal of the heritage site, which is what I'm looking at, and I believe that it should be left on country.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Anyone else wishing to speak? So I'm going to put the right of reply, Councillor Ring, for your amendment.
Basically, there are artefact scutters all over our community. Walk along Farmers Creek, you'll find remnants of sites. It is not our opinion, it's the opinion of the Indigenous community. They do not want the artefacts removed from country, but not every site warrants retention. And if this site is so important, there's nothing in this report that says how we're going to manage it or protect it moving forward. I don't think this site warrants that level of protection. And I think $140,000 is a hell of a lot of money for this council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. The General Manager would like to make a comment before I put that to the vote. Thank you.
And just not to enter the debate, but just to provide context, the project has started. The report's been prepared in good faith, using our expertise. In terms of the contractor undertaking the REF, that is the way that we need to undertake a lot of REFs. We have robust processes. We've just reviewed our REF process and we'll continue to improve those. But we need contractors with their expertise to undertake these REFs, and we use all of our expertise to ensure that's a robust process. I'm very cautious about looking to impose tight timeframes and minimum timeframes on consultation with Indigenous groups. We take our consultation very seriously, but the project has started. The experts on council's behalf, the water and wastewater area, are recommending underboring on balance is the appropriate way to get the project done, and the like. And we do recognise that there's an additional variation that goes with that, but it leaves the Indigenous issues and heritage untouched and allows the project to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. I'm glad you didn't have the debate at all. That was great of you. However,
point of
Councillor
order,
Ring,
does
you have
council,
finished. I'm
councils
putting
only
the
get
amendment.
one say,
Excuse
don't
me,
they?
Councillor Bryce. You are finished. The General Manager responded. We now put the motion to the vote. Thank you. All those in favour of the amendment. Thank you. Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie. All those against? I'll call a division, so all those against. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor McGee, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman and Councillor Statham. The amendment was lost. This now becomes a motion. Councillor Bryce, return to the original motion. Right of reply, please. All right. All right. I'll put the motion. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor McGee, Councillor Coleman, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Marnie and myself, thank you. Against, thank you. Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie.
No, just Councillor Ring.
All right, thank you. Councillor Ring. I declare carried. Thank you. The amendment was lost.
No,
the motion was carried. We'll just go back now, whilst all the councillors are in the room, to an alternate for the RFS Bushfire Committee, please. Can I have nominations from the floor if anyone's interested? Thank you.
Considering Councillor Marnie brought the recommendation forward, I'd like to nominate Councillor Marnie.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Marnie, would you accept that position if it's during the day meetings, 2 o'clock every? Yes, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Marnie, thank you. Anybody else wishing to delegate somebody? No? Councillor Marnie, we'll vote on that, thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Marnie? Great, unanimous, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Before we go to page 13, Mr. Elwood has a slight amendment, please. Mr. Elwood.
Yes, Councillor. Sorry, Mayor, through yourself. Councillors will have in front of them a memorandum. There is one amendment to wording that relates to the recommendations for this paper. You will note that the wording amendment relates to addressing an inaccuracy relating to comments made in the original paper. It states that the rates and charges policy have been adopted, which was incorrect because that is actually a paper into this evening's business papers for council meeting.
Could you state where that is on what page, please, Mr. Elwood?
Yes, it's on page 14 as the administration's recommendation, and then there's also a wording change in the background on page 19 that relates to the same issue. Yeah, the amended motion will be on the screen.
For councillors that are interested, the amendment motion is on the screen. Thank you. So could I have a move?
I'll happily move it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Marnie. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Ring? Thank you.
Yes, briefly. It's good to see rationalisation of this policy. It's still got to go out to public exhibition, and I'll be interested to see what the commentary is from the community. I think having one fee makes it simple, but we'll see what the community has to say.
Councillor Marnie, thank you.
I concur with Councillor Ring on where we can and rationalise these down. I think there was a situation where we were charging a fee plus charging an approval, and I'm glad that those two things have been merged because I'm not sure that fits into the fair and equitable. And also it was clear from the staff report that the system is a cumbersome item that's probably not servicing the purpose. I just can't find the figure straight off now, but I think there's a figure around 200,000 was collected each year. Can I ask, and I suppose just something to throw in there, is there a way that when we're charging these fees that we can actually ring fence them to start dealing with the last of the urban septics and seeing whether when reticulated sewer is in a reasonable distance, and I've declared my interest because I'm someone in that zone, so I'm happy to be the last person that gets done for, but I think that we need to look at the relationship between on-site sewer management, their proximity to the streams of Farmers Creek, and in turn their pathway into Lake Lyell, and all these incremental savings of pollution into that system is a good thing. And obviously, Mr. Trapp's just spoken to the upgrading of sewer pumping systems, so we're sort of hoping we're getting a more and more robust sewer main system. So I don't know that I want to put it as an additional point, but maybe just something to consider in the operations committee and the new council, whether they want to take that challenge on and see where they want to go with it.
Thank you, Councillor Money. Any other people wishing to speak tonight? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, I'm also pleased that this policy, to me, looks like it's been streamlined, because quite frankly, it wasn't cost effective. I mean, I read in the report that they sent out 3 reminder letters and then an invoice. So I'm glad that we're taking this out to public expedition, because that, to me, isn't cost effective. I do have a question, though, in regards to the report. It states in the report, high, medium and low risk system. How do you determine that, just out of curiosity?
Mr. Elwood, thank you.
Through yourself, Ms. Statham. The policy document, which is going out to public exhibition, outlines the general criteria for those risk categories, but it's the sizing and the type of system and its proximity to watercourses, the receiving grounds. So whether the grounds that the system is going out into actually have capacity to handle receiving material that's coming through after treatment as well. So the high risk systems are identified very early on when the applications are put through for approval to systems. General standard low risk systems generally related to lower yield, so lower throughput material to a general household system in a location that does not have high risk proximity to immediate watercourses, sensitive environments, and the like. And this in a very general sense.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Any other discussion? Councillor O'Connor.
Yes. So, from what I understand, it's a flat $75 fee per year. Does that mean council officers go out and check these things, or is that all over?
Mr. Elwood.
Check them to see if they're working proper, if you get my drift.
Through yourself, Mayor Statham. So one of the drivers for this policy change is to be able to direct our limited resources for inspections to the higher risk systems and the systems that potentially present that risk. With over 2,000 systems across the LGA, we do have to have a targeted inspection system approach, with the exception of new systems. So all new systems prior to approval are inspected, and then this policy and this proposal is then to focus our inspections regime on primarily the higher risk systems, and then undertake also medium and low risk systems, but to focus on that element of high risk given the number of systems that we've got and our inability to undertake annual inspections on every system.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. Anyone else wishing to speak tonight? Right of reply, please, Councillor Ring.
Before the right of reply, I'd just like to ask just one question for you, Mayor, to Mr. Elwood. Will all residents who have septic tanks be advised of the policy, or we're just going to put it up on the webpage?
Mr. Elwood, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All residents that have on-site sewage management systems will be advised of the potential change in policy when we go out to public exhibition.
Thank you. No, just put it, please, Mayor Statham.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. Making of annual rates and charges 2024 to 2025.
I want to move it.
Yes, thank you. Just one moment, please. Could I have a seconder, thank you? Could I have a seconder, thank you? Seconder. Councillor McGee, thank you. We may have an issue getting this on the screen just at the moment. We might have to be patient for a moment.
What a shit show. It's gone. Is it? I'll put in a motion and then an additional point to waive Main Street parking. Oh.
Yes, look, we will continue, thank you. Can I have a mover for this, thank you? Councillor Bryce and Councillor McGee. Councillor Bryce, would you like to speak to that?
I just want to add an additional point or amendment, that the special parking rate be suspended until the revitalisation work of Main Street is completed, as this is a disruption to the businesses and often parking is really hard when Main Street is being revitalised.
Could I ask a question, please, Mayor? I mean, it says in the paper to cease it. That's
No,
what
it doesn't.
It does. It does.
6B, it also says to keep it, according to this.
It's sharing it across the entire LGA.
Okay, so
anyway, at the moment, Councillor Ring, excuse me.
Sorry about that, I've misread that. So, but, okay, so I was also mentioning that I'm glad to see that Marangaroo has been moved to residential other, starting at 24-25. When we went to the SRV, they seem to be, the residents out at Marangaroo, unfairly rated at a much higher rate than anyone else. Thanks.
So, Councillor Bryce, you're moving 1 to 6?
No, I'd get rid of just the points that there. Yeah, I must have.
Righto, thank you. Yeah. Councillor McGee, thank you.
Yes, all pretty straightforward. I know everyone finds it very hard to envisage how we manage a film application permits and things like that, but to me it seems quite clear that if people wish to use any films or photos commercially, they will acquire a permit to do so. So it's not something that is going to lead down any huge legal paths or anything like that, I don't think. I would like to ask, have we made representations against the burial fees, the cemetery fees that are being imposed upon us?
Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
We have indeed. That letter was, that correspondence was drafted and sent, I believe, not last week, the week before.
Mayor Stephen, if I may.
Just one moment, please, Councillor Ring. Mr. Gurney would like to address that too, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, we've also joined with the joint organisation to advocate against the interment levy.
Councillor Ring?
Thank you. I was going to move an amendment with 2 additional points. One has been dealt with. I'll accept that. That relates to the interment fees, which are disgusting. The second point that I'd like to, well, the amendment is an additional point. That is, no changes to the farmland category occurred during the 2024-25 financial year, and that a full report on proposed changes, including the consultation process, is brought back to Council.
Happy to second that.
Now, letters have been sent out by Council to a number of rural property owners advising them they've been determined as not being rural properties. I've had numerous phone calls, I've got copies of the letters, I've been sent copies of the forms. This council has not approved the policy. When I raised the rate review back in February. The management content was very clear that a draft farmland policy is being developed. No policy is being provided to us. And that the application progress will be programmed for 24-25. We have residents being told their rates are going up the 1st of July. Many of those people have only just received it. Now, I've looked into it, and defining what is a rural property or primary producer isn't that easy. It's quite complex. The Taxation Office has a ruling, TR 9711, which articulates what constitutes a primary producer, and surprisingly, it doesn't put a financial figure on it. So you can work full time and be turning over 20,000 and still meet the requirements under the Australian Taxation Office of a primary producer. In addition to that, the local land services charge rates on anything over 10 hectares. Council bringing in this rate change will not alter that. So these people will be hit twice. They'll be hit with the local land services rates and increased rates from council because of an arbitrary decision. The form pretty much wants to know what underwear you're wearing, how many machines. It's quite an arduous form to fill in, 7 pages. I'm sorry, but an ABN is only legally required if you generate $75,000 or more. The ATO recommends people have an ABN if they earn less than that, but it's not a legal requirement. Yet our form is asking for that. Our form is asking you, do you meet the requirements of the ATO? There's been no consultation. People are annoyed and disgusted at this and see it as another rip-off from this council. I can't support that. It needs to be put on hold.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Just for everyone's attention, this was going to be brought up in business of great urgency. This morning I had a meeting in my office early with the General Manager who was absolutely didn't have any idea what had occurred. I said, cease it immediately. It is ceased immediately. Everyone will get their letter to apologise for the inconvenience caused. The 700 letters gone out. The 700 people will be identified, and there will be some of those if and when that does occur. It's off, it's out, it's gone.
Thank you, Mayor Stephen, but I want the additional point to remain.
Yeah, I'm quite happy for it to remain.
That's good, thank you.
Actually, no, read it out again for me, please. Yeah, but I can't read that screen.
It's already been seconded.
No, I would like you to read that point out.
That no changes to the farmland category occurred during the 2024-25 financial year, and that a full report on proposed changes, including the consultation process, is brought back to council.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
as a seconder, I'd like to speak.
Yes, but I just the mover, Councillor Bryce. You're happy with that point? Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
If I could, please, is that
yes,
okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Look, in regards to this topic, I also received complaints through Messenger when I was at the Taranau market, so I'm pleased that there's been a stop put to it. The feedback I received, and you probably received the same, Mayor Statham, was that the letter caused me and my family stressed. There was a better approach to gain information. The application form was arbitrary, 7 pages long. They didn't understand why they had to provide so much personal data. They felt that this was an overreach, and they felt that the tone of the letter was quite threatening. And they were concerned that there was no community consultation. So I am pleased that you've brought this forward to put a hold on it, and it needs to be looked at. 700 properties, I didn't realise there was that many letters. That's quite concerning. My question is, will a letter go out? Will people be called? Will a media release be done? How are we going to advise these 700 people that we're looking at this matter, considering the amount of angst that this has caused?
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. I could answer that, but the General Manager can do that. Thank you.
Yeah, as the Mayor explained, I think we should have consulted much better and the like. There were good intentions from the administration. I do want to take the time to just provide a bit of context. A farmland property is rated at a lower rate. That's an incentive, and that's an indication of how this council is supportive of farming and farming activities and the like. But it's incumbent upon the council to ensure that all land uses sit in the appropriate categories, and periodically we need to undertake a review of those categories. And as we all appreciate, and we're proud of those farming activities, but there's also significant conversion of farmlands or underutilisation of farmlands for lifestyle housing, Airbnbs, tourism accommodation and the like. So there was a first tranche of properties that appeared prima facie to not be being used for farming purposes, and so the letter could have been worded better, but really it was asking people just to demonstrate that they are using that for legitimate farming purposes. I spoke to the revenue section this morning. They indicated that by and large people had received it positively and participated where they said that they were farming. They were forwarded the application, completed it, and it was being returned. In many cases, people conceded, yeah, we're not operating a farm. Fair call. And they virtually conceded that they were in the wrong category. But it's a much larger process, and it's a process that this council needs to walk very carefully through. So immediately this morning, we paused that process. We weren't intending to recommence it. It's a matter for a new council, certainly, to own and be very comfortable with. And so item number 6 that's been added to the recommendation is entirely appropriate. And we would be writing to each of the 692 property owners that received that letter to express an apology for this, and indicating that they'd be deeply engaged in a more mature process going forward.
General Manager, anyone else wishing to speak to this, please? No?
Yes, I would.
Councillor Marnie?
I'll speak briefly to that. I also received representations. I think we've got to understand that agriculture and horticulture are diversifying. They're running at lots of different scales. And so that we need that as part of our industry base. So I'm pleased, Mayor, that you've represented that issue and that's been put on hold. I would like to speak to other elements in the report, if I can briefly.
Certainly, Councillor Marnie.
I've raised this in the past, but I'm making some assumptions, and through you, Mayor, that with the overdue rates, we're using all hardship opportunities to resolve these debts, noting that our interest rate sits above some of the cheapest credit cards rates of interest. If people are having problems paying their bills, adding a 10% to it only elongates the problem. So I'm putting my faith in Mr. Gurney's section that they're utilising the hardship. So can I just quickly ask that, please?
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Mr. Gurney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham. Yes, definitely all hardship provisions are utilised. In fact, there's an updated hardship and debt management policy in the business paper tonight, which will go on public exhibition.
Okay, thank you. Also, just want to again support the ceasing of the levying the parking special rate in the CBD area, noting that we have put a 20.7% rate increase. Really, something I was hoping to see at the introduction of that was that we would review some of the smaller fees we were charging and take them out of the system. So I'm pleased that's the case. I probably don't share other people's views, but we just resolved a cumbersome process and we've introduced a non-commercial film application fee where somebody may find themselves at Hassan's Walls or even potentially Lake Lyell taking a beautiful landscape photo. And I'd need to know where the value is in administering a $20 fee. Most staff would be on probably $40 an hour. I sort of hope as a public body that we don't create fees that actually cost more to collect than the income we get. So I'm still not supportive of that. And just noting the general 5.4% charge across most of the fees, and again just noting, I hope that, and I thank you to the staff for bringing the hardship policy back for review, that we don't capture people and make their life even more difficult than it is.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. If there are no other speakers, right of reply, Councillor Bryce. Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye. Unanimous, thank you. Page 32, Delivery Program 2022 to 26 and Operational Plan 2024 to 25. Can I have a mover, thank you? Have a mover, thank you. Councillor Bryce and Councillor Marnie.
Just
Councillor Bryce.
Just good to see all the layouts of what's happening in the next financial year, including what's going to be spent for the LEAP program. I do see the Rydal toilet block being on there for the 10th year in a row, so hopefully we can get that done. The Cullumbullen Path, what's happening there? Could somebody just ask a question about the Cullumbullen Path? Where is that at?
Oh. The Cullumbullen Path. I'd need to, off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly where that is, but I can provide a memo to the councillors after the meeting.
Thank you. No worries. Thanks. That's it.
Councillor Marnie, thank you.
Just a couple of comments. Obviously, it's going to be another big body of work to put out there. Just want to acknowledge through you, Mayor, probably directed at Mr. Edgecombe, but I'm pleased to see that we're starting to see that scheduled maintenance where we're getting early and extending our useful life in our road assets. So I think we've got to be working at it at both ends. Obviously, there's some in terrible condition that need repair, but we've got to make sure everyone doesn't slide down that trajectory and arrive there before we do anything. The other thing I appreciate is that I know there was money put out of the stormwater money into road renewals for curb and guttering. Whilst that's important, that should be captured under the curb and guttering as part of the road construction. We need to desperately have a pathway forward where we can start taking people out of the red zone who are impacted by urban flooding. And I noted in the previous, we've got a stormwater levy that's generating $250,000. If we can start combining that with the SRV, we can start doing works that take some of those people that are subject to overland flows in Marangaroo Fields and particularly Lithgow Urban, and that we can start actually progressing some of the floodplain risk management plans outcomes. So there's lots to like in here. Unfortunately, it doesn't always get the light of day, and probably our failings as a council is much more clearly seen, but there's some good stuff happening there, and just thank the staff for their approach.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor. Very good report, all the work, and I'm very impressed with the Seal Road preventative maintenance, 20 kilometres, because the minute the seal starts breaking up, that's the end of the road. So if we can get it before it breaks and frays, that's a perfect scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Ring, did you have your hand up?
I'd like to move an amendment.
Certainly, Councillor Ring.
I'd like to move an additional point.
Yes.
That recruitment of the lead engagement officer and emerging economy positions are placed on hold and reviewed by the new council.
I'll second that.
The position of emerging economy manager was recently advertised. The application process closed on the 14th of June. I have gone through every council meeting this year. There is no resolution to endorse the creation of these positions. I raised this at the Economic Development Committee meeting last week. I was told there'd be a memo about it. No memo has come forth. You cannot, under the Local Government Act, Section 335H, the General Manager can appoint staff in accordance with the organisation structure determined under this chapter and the resources approved by Council. This Council has gone out to recruit staff without having the budget for them approved. I don't consider that acceptable.
Ms. Statham, can I ask?
Thank you, Councillor Ring. The General Manager would like to speak to that.
I was just going to ask a clarification through you.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Goodwin.
For the General Manager, if you could
Certainly.
clarify what the implications are for us. Thanks.
Yes, Councillor Goodwin.
Mayor, the administration, certainly under my leadership, is very alert to the fact that they can't employ staff beyond the approved budgetary allocation. However, what's happened is the administration also recognises that the year coming up is a very unusual year in the sense that we have a council election. So you'll have a caretaker period, you'll have a period before the council is declared, and then you'll have a period to train the council, and then you have a period of inducting them to the work program, and then shortly thereafter you'll have a Christmas period. So unless we line matters of great strategic import up now, there's some chance that we will only have 5 months from February to June to get 12 months worth of work done. So the administration has gone to contractors to seek expressions of interest and tenders for certain projects so that we stand a chance of getting those submissions back and able to be considered by the council and delivered next year. In the case of the positions that Councillor Ring's amendment goes to, it was recognised that we need to be driving very aggressively at resourcing LEAP. There is a skill shortage. We've been out in the market for the other position 3 times, and it took us more than 12 months to source one position. Tonight, the council will vote for the LEAP action plan as a feature of the budget and the operating plan, and if it decides and supports those positions, well, then we're ready to start interviewing. So we haven't spent money on wages. What we've done is we've gone to the market to start to line people up. So I believe that we've done nothing improper, nothing in accordance that breaches the Act. We're just being prudent to make some utility of next year with the LEAP project. When you went to the Latrobe Valley, you saw that we have to have the best staff and we need to be recruiting, and we will not be able to recruit unless we get out there.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Councillor Goodwin.
No, thank you, Mayor. That's all I needed to ask. Just
All right, thank you. Councillor Bryce, will you accept Councillor Ring's point? So that lapses?
That needs a second.
Apologies, there is a seconder for it. It does not lapse.
Oh, okay. Mr. Gurney said it was a point. It's amendment. Have you got a seconder? Thank you.
I did second it when...
Councillor Ring, could you, Councillor Leslie, could you please
I
speak
did second it when Councillor Ring was moving it. So, and I'd like to point out to the General Manager, we always have a Christmas period. It's not something that's going to be unusual this coming financial year. I've been concerned for some time now about the fact that it may be happening. I'm just totally unaware of it, that we don't seem to have a transition period between Mr. Butler leaving next week and Mr. Gurney taking over next week. There seems to be appointments being made. Whether that's been consulted or not, I don't know. Certainly a number of the former mayor of Muswellbrook's been given a position. I understand this is totally within the power of the General Manager, acting as our General Manager.
Leslie, keep on topic, please.
Keep on topic, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I think that this amendment, and I'd like actually to ask Mr. Ring, Councillor Ring, if he would slightly amend it, and that is that these appointments be deferred until the new general manager takes office.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie and Councillor Ring. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this?
I just have a question.
I want to speak. Thanks. Thank you. These positions are being currently advertised. They're closed on the 14th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so there's a whole process. There's no chance in the next 4 days that the current general manager will be appointing those people.
No guarantees.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce and Councillor Ring. Councillor Coleman.
I just had a question. In regards to the new position, Asset Systems Officer, do we have a job description? Can someone actually explain to me what that is? What do they actually do?
Certainly. Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. So if I were to summarise it, the Leap Systems Officer, sorry, confusing the two issues here, the Asset Systems Officer is responsible for the administration of Council's new asset management plans. So they manage the plans, they assist the asset managers or the custodians of those assets to make decisions that align with the asset management plans, and they're also responsible for making sure that the information within the systems, the information systems that we hold, remain contemporary and up to date as well. So we don't want those documents slipping into the ether and falling as a document that just sits on a shelf unactioned. We want to make sure that we drive at the outcomes day in, day out, and that's what that position aims to achieve.
I have another question, Mayor, if I may, on the basis of that information. Haven't we asking about access management plans for a while now?
Mr. Edgecombe?
Through you, Mayor Statham, you have indeed. We've just undertaken a complete best practice condition assessment of the entire network, which is based on LiDAR and AI technology. It's really consistent and new technology to bring in the most accurate and up-to-date data to inform our asset management planning. And the plans are in the process of incorporating that new data now. So the councillors will be able to interrogate those plans shortly once all of that new information's been adopted or incorporated.
Thank you, Mayor Statham, and mind my stutter. I pronounced that word incorrectly earlier.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe.
Okay. I've talked endlessly about asset management plans since I came in the door, so I can't now turn around and say you can't have any resources to make the things happen. So whilst the SRV really want to see significant amount of dollars on the ground, it's all going to be about plans and people and projects. It's not, projects just don't unfortunately happen on their own unless there's people sitting around the office with 25% capacity that they're not using, and I don't believe that's what's going on. So I'm very happy to support this because it's a very important body of work that particular position is going to do.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor McGee.
Yes, I support the motion, but not the amendment. I see no problem with the administration preempting future gaps in the workforce and making moves to fill those gaps. We've been a very short council, 3-year term, and to have as much information early in the piece and to have it well explained will be an asset, especially as you learned, like these things can't be put off indefinitely. They need to be addressed as soon as possible, as soon as is practicable. So the preempting of positions, we all know exactly how long it has taken to fill a lot of these positions, and a lot of them are still vacant. It was one of the reasons for a big surplus in our budget, was unpaid salaries because the jobs are still vacant. So more than justifiable to be advertising. They're not recruiting, they will come to us for that. I see nothing sinister, and it just reflects the leadership and trust that we put in the general manager and the staff to do these things, because we're not here 24 hours a day. We all work our own jobs. So there is a lot of trust and an implicit respect to the directorship and the general manager to do a lot of these things for us.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. I'll put the right of reply, Councillor Ring.
It's no different to going, well, we need a new tractor, we'll go out and preempt, or we'll go out and get some tenders. We'll wait till the budget's in and we've got it all done. Sorry, I don't accept it. I'm not satisfied with it at all. Just put it to the vote.
I'll put it to the vote to the amendment. Thank you. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Leslie and Councillor Ring against. Call a division. Thank you. For the amendment was Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie. Against the amendment was Councillor Coleman, Councillor McGee, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Bryce and Councillor Statham and Councillor Marnie. Thank you. So the amendment now becomes the original, going back to the original motion. Councillor Bryce, right of reply.
I'd like to debate the original motion now,
Absolutely,
Mayor.
thank you. Councillor Bryce? No, Councillor Coleman, thank you.
I'd like to ask questions on regards to what's in the business paper in regarding this particular motion. Now, I just want to know a few things, if I could, please. On page 34, it says footpath, Lithgow Valley Plaza. Whereabouts is that footpath? Where is that exactly? Sorry, bottom of page 35.
35. I think that's the one that's been added around. Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, I can confirm by way of memorandum tomorrow, but my belief is that that refers to the footpath that's across the road from the Club Lithgow that just ends in a dead-end curb and doesn't have a pram ramp or associated infrastructure to help people cross the road. So we're amending that and making sure it's mobility compliant and the like.
Thank you. I have a few more, if I may, Mayor Statham.
Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe. Yes, certainly, Councillor Coleman.
A reduction in the budget for the ABCD Community Hall. Could you explain what that actually means? And I have another question. The $150,000 for the Seven Valleys marketing strategy, is that just for this financial year, or is that in total since the concept was suggested?
Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. So we essentially engaged the ABCD Inc. and contributed the money on their behalf for the internal fit out of the building. That related to savings achieved. The work was still completed in full.
Do we know if the building's ready to open? Is it open and being used?
We would provide that by memo.
Okay, thank you. And the Seven Valleys marketing strategy, if I could, please.
Thank you.
Through yourself, Mayor Statham, that is for the 24-25 financial year, 1 year.
Sorry, Mayor. Do we know how much in total we've actually spent on the concept? Can we have that via memorandum? Do we know that?
So just for clarification, when you say the concept...
Seven Valleys marketing strategy.
You mean to date?
Yeah.
I can get that through in the coming days with memorandum.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood and Councillor Coleman. Anyone else wishing to speak? I'll put Councillor right of reply. Thank you, Councillor Ring. Oh no, we've done that. No, yes, sorry. Any other person wants to debate before I put the motion? Right of reply, Councillor Bryce. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't allow that. It's our rules. There was a period of time you could speak. We gave you a couple of extensions.
Mayor Statham, can I make a procedural motion to bring the procedural, the Lake Long.
Oh, yes, sorry, I thought you were going to make some other, yes. Councillor Goodwin, are you going to move that way?
I'll move that way.
Could I have a seconder,
I'll
please?
second it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. All those in favour say aye. Yes, thank you, Mr Heron. Thank you. What page is that on here? Page 66, thank you. Lake Lyell lease, proposed excise of Lot 2 in DP 792415 and related matters. Could I have a mover? Thank you. Councillor McGee, have a seconder, thank you.
I'll second that.
Councillor Goodwin. Councillor McGee.
Yes, highly contentious, obviously, from the words that we've heard earlier. But having heard both sides of the story, the delegation from the CLC and also from Energy Australia, both put forward their arguments very clearly. But I've got to say that the Energy Australia argument is far superior. Also,
Excuse me, no comments from the public gallery, thank you.
there were just a couple of things to clarify. They say that there's no legal grounds for Energy Australia to do this. We've had legal advice that there most certainly is. The lake was built in 1981 for energy production purposes. The land is owned by Energy Australia and they do have the right to use it for energy production. So that was the legal advice that we have had. So if we were to say no, then they could twist our arms. Also, as far as the site goes, I did have major misgivings as to the location because it was put to me that it would be basically in full view of the caravan park, an asset of Lithgow City Councils. And this is not true. Also that, you know, just the whole demographic of the area was presented correctly. One of the things that this evening was said that the site is very steep. It is very steep, and that was explained by Energy Australia in their presentation. And if you look closely at this, it is actually stepped, and it is quite steep. That road is quite obviously winding down, and those buildings are not all on one big flat surface. It was explained quite clearly. Also, the amenity of the services that will be built there, this is only a concept. What is being proposed is vastly superior to this, to my understanding, which leaves us with what will in time become an asset to Lithgow City Council and the LGA. With the location, once again, the other location that was proposed is some 25, 30 kilometres away because it makes sense that they will build this facility on their land, which just makes sense. If you own the land, you'll build what you need upon it. So to that end, it doesn't make sense to build it anywhere else other than where they are proposing. I have listened to both sides, and I must say that the Energy Australia proposal is feasible and does make sense, but there is still no guarantee that this will go ahead. So by doing this, by granting this, this only allows the proposal to be fully researched, basically. If it is approved and funded, then this easement will go ahead. This easement will not go ahead unless the pumped hydro goes ahead. And it's as simple as that. And also, there's no great conspiracy as to their end use of the land. They're quite happy to see it become an asset for the area. As with the continued use, and may I add safer use, I think some of these areas were deemed quite unsafe recently, and this will go a long way to make these areas safer for everyone using this facility. And I just see advantages.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Ms. Statham. I was also in the meeting, and I did listen to both sides, and I openly listened to both sides. I could see fors and againsts for both. When I was told about the contracts, Ms. Paulides had told us, she's our legal person in council, told us that the agreement and the lease that we were going to have with Energy Australia, that if it doesn't go ahead, that everything's going to be null and void. It will all be written in a lease, that it'll all come back to council. They only want this at the moment to put their planning in. They need this only for a period of time while it's being built. Then those assets will be negotiated and come back to council, hopefully, or we'll be doing something with the assets that are down there. Could be sewerage, road, even buildings down there. That will be an asset for later on. It's only one portion of the land as well. I think there was an argument there from the Lake Lyle people that that they were going to take the whole lot of that land. I think initially they were. When we spoke with them, they said they only needed a portion. I was happy with that little portion of land that they were going to take, not the whole lot. I don't have a problem with it all being contracted up and put out for the recommendation to go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Anyone else? Councillor Holman.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. When I read this report and listened to both sides of the story, what jumped out at me were three things. 9.24 hectares or 22 acres. That's a substantial amount of land. Energy Australia wants to establish a workforce village on the land in regards to preparation for the Lake Lyle pumped hydro. That has not yet been approved and has not yet been in front of this council. But what I was really interested in is this particular statement. All planning, decisions, approvals must be completed before there can be a financial investment decision by Energy Australia. What I read into this is that Energy Australia will financially benefit, not the council, not our residents that we represent. For me, and it's really truly concerning, it reminds me of the land that was sold at Luwerawang. I am not in support of this recommendation, as I don't see it as a financial benefit for the Lithgow City Council or its residents.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Ring.
$1 million question, the elephant in the room is, will this project ever go ahead? No one knows. At the last council meeting, I had concerns about this proposal because it was like an immediate excise. It's not. This is an agreement that will allow the excise of the land if the proposal goes ahead. The land would not theoretically be excised until mid to late 2026. I see no comparison with the land sale at Luwerawang, none whatsoever. We don't own this land, it's not our asset, we lease it. And yes, we own land adjacent to the lake, but I do not believe that we actually own access from that land to the lake. We definitely don't own the rights to be on the lake. There are many people in this room who invested a lot of time, energy, and very passionate, and I respect that. I attended the 2 Lake Lyle meetings to date, Do I think this project will go ahead? I don't know. But we have a lot of projects that are coming up in the energy sector. Wind, solar, nuclear, hydrogen. There are a lot of things coming ahead. We need industry moving ahead. We just can't say no to everything. Is this a great location for the camp? I don't know. Until such time as there a detailed plan that I can assess and look at, I can't make an informed decision. I do know that after dealing with Sydney Water for years, that when it comes to sewage management on this side, it's going to cost them a leg and an arm. It's going to be very bloody expensive. But this project has to be viable. I don't know that it is. They've got to go through the process. This land won't be touched until such time as the process is approved. Now, regardless if the next council approves, this council will have no say in the approval or otherwise of this project. This is a state significant project. If next council has objections to it and they raise them, and they say they do not support it, all that will trigger is an independent planning commission. The same will be triggered with 50 complaints from the community. Either way, this is a state significant development. It will run its course. We need to get the best benefits out of it. If there are legitimate reasons and concerns on the next council, if I stand or if I'm elected, then I'll make a decision when the information's in front of me, not before. At the moment, I see no reason to vote against this.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Leslie?
Thank you, Mayor Statham. I think that this pumped hydro proposal, destroying Mount Walker and Lake Lyell, if built, would be a disaster for our area. 15 full-time jobs and the loss of many jobs at Seclusions and Eagle View doesn't seem to me to be a very good outcome. But the decision to build this pumped hydro proposal won't be a decision I will make. I want to take an alternative view of our history. What if, after all the environmental, legal and financial issues have been explored and the powers that be, the Planning Commission, etc., gives the go-ahead? What then? Well, I'd like to speak about that scenario. Pass this resolution and Lithgow Council has given away control of these leases for nothing. This is Barton Street, Wallerawang all over again. But the real reason for the rush to carry this resolution is that Energy Australia wants the lease back and wants it back now. But why do they want the land back? On page 67, there's a vague reason given. This is point 1, EA's request to excise part of Lot 2 in DP 792415 from the Lake Lyell lease. And it reads, all planning decisions, approvals, must be completed before there can be a financial investment decision by EA. It seems that Energy Australia wants to know what the project will cost, but seriously, it's insulting to think that Energy Australia needs this information to work out its own costs. So I don't think that's the reason Energy Australia wants the lease back. So we need to think about this 2.4 hectares, 22 hectares, what it will be used for. And the answer is, as everyone knows, a work camp that may be in place for 5 or more years. And here's the crunch. If it's legal for Energy Australia to establish and run this work camp on this site, then it would be legal for Lithgow City Council to run and establish a work camp on the same site. Or more sensibly, for Lithgow City Council to sublet the lease to Energy Australia to build this work camp. Energy Australia knows this lease is worth millions of dollars. Energy Australia wants this lease for nothing pass this resolution and Lithgow Council loses somewhere between $500,000 and $5 million every year. Vote this down, and in due course, ask a valuer just what this lease is worth to Lithgow Council and just how much Energy Australia would pay to establish a work camp on that very site.
Can I ask a question of Councillor Leslie? No?
You can ask the question to the bench.
Yep. Does Councillor Leslie suggest that the Lithgow Council build the work camp for Energy Australia and lease it back to them? That's all I was asking.
Councillor Leslie?
And I concluded that statement with, or more sensibly, to sublet the lease, which is now in our own control, to sublet that lease to Energy Australia for them to build this work camp. And we get a valuer to determine just what that lease is worth to Energy Australia and how much they would pay.
Councillor O'Connor?
Yes, I just want to say, people bringing up Batten Avenue in Wallerawang, it's got no bearing whatsoever in Batten Avenue, land that the council owned and was sold by some of the people that's talking for virtually giveaway price. This is pie in the sky stuff they're talking about now. Energy Australia, when they're developing a big project, the same as anybody else, they want all their ducks in a row to know they have certainty to do this and that. It's quite simple. It's their land and the thing should be passed on the spot.
O'Connor, I do agree. Councillor Leslie was the mayor when that block of land was sold, certainly not me. Moving right along, thank you.
Just for the record, you voted for it, as did Councillor Ring and as did Councillor Coleman.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
The General Manager is going to speak to this issue. Thank you.
I think Councillor Leslie's comment about valuing the use of the land for the worker village is exactly the intention of point 4, and the approach would be. But I actually advanced this suggestion because, in a sense, council leases the land from Energy Australia. We don't have a near-term use, but we're going to be deprived of even entertaining the idea for that use for a couple of years. Then we'll get the land back, and so you know, the concept of point 4 is that you know, there should be a commercial discussion with Energy Australia about how the public is reasonably offset or compensated for not being able to advance development proposals on that site. So point 4 actually goes substantially towards what Councillor Leslie is saying, and it ensures that the community receives some offset for that 6 years or more. I actually think it starts from the time the council takes this decision to the closure of the worker village.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Is there any other debate before I give Councillor Marnie?
I'm not comfortable. I was speaking this before about how the recommendations are bound together. I actually see them as separate entity. Point 3 relates to the land being allowed for use as an operation of primitive camping ground. And I did listen carefully to being advised by the General Manager about not making decisions in the event that something may not proceed. And we talked in the recommendation, should the proposed Lake Lyell hydro project be approved. So we have nothing in front of us that, in my mind, sees the value, because it's an indeterminate value of contribution. We're basically handing over in recommendation 1, we're handing over the keys to the block, and then we're saying we'll negotiate once we've handed the object over what what the value might be and what conversation might go on. So I'm not willing to support it even from that point of view, how it's constructed. I still am not convinced that this is the best place for a workforce accommodation. I understand the proximity argument, but there are other sites within the city. We've got a site which has got significant tourism value, and yes, the lake has gone through a whole lot of hands, and around 2040 it may go through another set of hands. And I note in the report that at present Mount Piper Station is scheduled for close in 2040. At that point, if Mount Power Station site is sold after closure, council may need to negotiate lease terms with a new owner. So I'm not sure that we're buying into certainty with this anyway, beyond the current lease. The other point is that Energy Australia have the ability to terminate the lease if they choose to. I think for us, I'm still not sure we've exhausted the value of that lease land, and there may be opportunities for us that haven't been seen as yet in the tourism industry. And as I said, there is other locations if in the event, as the report says, that EA proceeds to construct it, and should the proposed actually be approved. So neither of them are there, and I'm just not convinced about handing over, relinquishing a lease at this point. So I won't be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. The General Manager is going to make comment on that.
I'll just comment on the first point, and recommendation number one is very, the construct is important because what it really reads, and it makes no comment or nor any indication of support for a worker village or a pumped hydro, but what it does is it couples the excision of this 9.2 hectares to the fact, and only if it occurs, of the pumped hydro and the worker accommodation proceeding. So in other words, it doesn't occur uncoupled. It isn't excised and returned to Energy Australia to use for any purpose uncoupled from the pumped hydro and the worker village. So it's really important that the way that's constructed.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. If there's no other debate, Councillor McGee, right of reply, thank you.
Yes, quite a few more issues raised there, but it's quite plain that Energy Australia do own the land. They do have the right to request this. Councillor Leslie says they want it back now. That's not true. They want it back if and when this goes ahead. And as far as valuing the site, and this is crying over spilt milk, and Councillor Leslie would know about that. He was mayor when Barton Street was sold. It doesn't recall anything about it, of course. But yeah, it's a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. I'll put it to the vote. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? I'll call the division on that. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin. Pardon?
No.
Called a decision, please. Like what
Yes.
was? Yeah.
Yes, I'll call the division. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Councillor McGee, Councillor Coleman. No. Sorry, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Statham. Against? And Councillor Ring. Against? Thank you. Councillor Coleman, Councillor Marnie, and Councillor Leslie, and Councillor Bryce. Thank you. It's moved. Thank you. Yeah, it's carried. Thank you.
So we got that.
Yeah, go back.
Do they want us to do with the second? Yeah, we can do with 3.10 more here.
We can deal with 3.10 whilst we're here at this moment. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll move that way. We're going to the next. Are we going to the next one? Yes.
Yeah.
Historical land anomalies.
So page 72, Lithgow correction of historical land anomalies. Thank you. Councillor Goodwin.
Yeah, Ms. Statham, we're also
I need
given.
a seconder, thank you. Councillor McGee.
Ms. Statham, we've also given a briefing in relation to this. This is a historical matter that EA and Council started back in 2013. I think back then EA transferred some land over to Council, including parts of Barton Street and possibly Piper's Flat Road. We need to keep up our part of the bargain and transfer those roads that are actually submerged underneath Lake Lyell and those parts that that are totally submerged, and we need to do that as a matter of urgency, and I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor McGee.
Yes, once again, the information session was quite revealing regarding this. I do thank the staff and legal team for separating the two, the previous issue and this one, because lumped all together, it was way too much for me. But yes, very happy with the amount of information that was presented at the information session regarding these roads, which are unused and underwater.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Bryce.
So the dam was built in 1982 in Field. The roads were submerged then. That's the old Roller Road and whatever other road it was. Then the wall again was lifted in 1992. So these roads are fully submerged. They have no value to the council. So I can't see why we can't transfer them as per the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Anybody else wishing to speak on this?
Yes.
Would you like to say that? Mr. Gurney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, there will be valuations. The valuations from the Valuer General will be used to determine compensation to council.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney. Anybody else wishing to speak? No?
Only that I'd like to have that information in front of me before I made a decision.
It's in the report, apparently, Mr. The valuation will be done. There's a statement in that report.
Is that the valuation of the two smaller blocks, not the roads, or is it for the entire roads and the two smaller blocks?
Through you, Mayor Statham, it's for lot 1, so that information is provided on page 73, and also for lots 1. Lot 1 and lot 5.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney. If there's no other debate, right of reply, Councillor Goodwin. Thank you.
No, Ms. Statham, nothing further.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Declare that carried. Now we're going back to the beginning of the agenda.
I'll have my name recorded against that.
I would like to as well.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Coleman and Councillor Leslie would please have their name recorded against that. Thank you. And what page is this on? Here somewhere.
Page 43.
Yes, absolutely. We are.
I'd like to move it.
Yeah. Local Government Remuneration Tribunal Determination 2024. Could I have a mover, please?
I'd like to move it with with an amendment. Mayor Statham, if you would allow me, if I get a.
Okay, I'll have your amendment first. Thank you, Councillor Goodwin.
Well, if I get a second, I'd like to move it to where we increase that rate to a flat rate of $15,000 from the 12,000 or the 9,914 to a council remuneration of 15,000. I will speak on it, and the mayor's remuneration to go up. to, just bear with me on the last page, 31,765.
Just say that again, please, Councillor.
31,765.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor McGee?
Can we see it on the screen, Mayor, please? It's just not up yet.
Councillor Goodwin, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Statham. As councillors, we play a vital role in shaping the future of our communities. Making important decisions that impact the lives of our residents on a daily basis, we are responsible for overseeing local government operations, allocating resources and representing the interests of our constituents. The job of a councillor is demanding, requiring long hours, extensive research and a deep commitment to serving the public. First and foremost, councillors deserve a pay rise because of the significant work we carry. With new and exciting projects on the horizon, responsibilities of councillors also increase, requiring us to dedicate more time and more effort in our roles. Councillors must stay informed about complex issues, attend numerous meetings and engage with constituents to address their concerns. A pay rise would help compensate councillors for the extra time and extra effort they put into serving our community. Furthermore, the cost of living is increasing, making it difficult for councillors to attend all of our responsibilities. Many councillors struggle to balance their financial responsibilities with the demands of their role, leading to financial strain and potential burnout. A pay rise would provide councillors with the financial stability we need to focus on our duties without worrying about our personal finances. In addition, offering competitive pay rates for councillors is essential to attract and retain talented individuals who are passionate about serving their communities. A higher salary would continue to attract a diverse pool of candidates with diverse backgrounds and expertise, ensuring that councils have the skills and knowledge needed to address complex issues and make informed decisions. Overall, councillors deserve a pay rise to compensate us for our hard work, dedication and valuable contributions we make to our community. A higher salary would not only recognise the importance of our role, but also support the ability to effectively serve the public interest and make a positive impact on the lives of residents in our community. I want to go further and say that the amount that I've put up is not that much higher than what we were going to be. We're actually saving the community money. We have a variance range between around about 11,500 to about 22,500. I'm not seeking to go up any more than 15,000. Effectively, we're not at the higher end. We could, if we wanted to, go up to the 22. We're not. We're saving the community money. We're in the middle. I believe that's where we should be. Our time is worth a lot more than $11,000 a year. This works out, I think, to be around about $280 a week, or I'm sorry, yeah, $280 a week that we get. I think that's substantial. A lot of the councillors here come from Portland. We travel in and out daily. We've had daily briefings, almost, we've had 3 or 4 briefings last week. Some of us come in a lot more than others, but we all do a lot of work in the community. This is not a decision for me because I may not be on council in the next term. This is a decision for the incoming council. I think whoever gets on council puts their effort in and puts their own time in. I think they need to be remunerated for it. So that's my argument.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor McGee.
Yes, I support Councillor Goodwin's motion. I think that $15,000 is very reasonable, especially when the outer limit is over $22,000 per councillor. It's roughly after tax $700 odd a month, and you can't have councillors going backwards if you expect to attract people to represent their communities. You have to put up with a lot being a councillor. You know, people tell lies about you. It's horrible. And, you know, you have to put up with that and you have to cop it on the chin. And from a lot of different areas within the community, people will lie about you. And I think that it does help to actually get some kind of remuneration for that. But I think that the main reason that we're here is for the community and to improve this area as best we can. Yeah, so I support Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Councillor McGee.
Mayor Stephen,
Councillor Ring.
I'd like to move an amendment, please.
Amendment, Councillor Ring.
My amendment is that the fees recommended in the administration's report at the lowest level, 11,914 and 25,230, be adopted for this council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring.
Can I just clarify that the administration doesn't it's made no recommendation?
No, sorry, I apologise. It's in the report, and it was the administration's recommendation based on the minimum or the amount that came from the tribunal.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else wishing to speak? Oh, sorry.
Need a second.
Second of the Councillor Ring.
I'm happy to second Councillor Ring's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie.
Yes.
Yes, Councillor, Mr. Gurney will speak to that. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham. Councillor Ring, is your amendment to increase the 23-24 remuneration by the 3.75%? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, but we work hard, just work hard. But on this council, what I've seen coming back is the number of committees and the frequency of their meetings has decreased. Councillors have supported that. Yes, if you come into a meeting, you're entitled to claim trouble. You can do it. I'm sorry, but I think this is a decision to significantly change the pay pattern of this council is one that should be made by the new council. If any council wants to take it out to the election, take it. But quite frankly, we put up a massive rate rise at the beginning of this year. There was massive outcry over getting a minimal pay rise. And now we're saying we're having financial trouble. I tell you, there's a lot of people out there having financial trouble. Rates are a part of it because their land values have gone up. Sorry, I didn't come on the council originally for the money. The amount of money I get's nice. I make ends meet. That's all I got to do. I think if anyone wants a pay rise, take it to the community and get their support at the next council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Mann.
I'm in a similar headspace to Councillor Ring. I don't do this for the remuneration. I don't actually see it as a job. I see the allowance as helping enable what I do. But when I walk through my neighbourhoods and I'm responsible for a 44.8% rate increase, 27.7 of that applied to all of my neighbours, with another 5.4 on fees this year, and I'm voting for something that's going to buffer me against all of the decisions I've made. So for me personally, or rather for this term, having made those significant changes, I'm happy to sit in my neighbourhood and basically not get buffered through my decisions against decisions I've made for them. So I don't want to run a question mark on whether councillors work hard or not. I know a number of councillors in this room who work extremely hard, and I'm not being in any way either side of this room. I watch what the councillors do, and there's a lot of work there. But for me, I can't do it. I didn't accept the pay rise last time. I dealt with it because I got it, but I'll deal with this again if I get it, but I won't be taking it.
Last, you won't be taking it. Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry?
It's okay. Thank you, Councillor.
No, it's okay. Oh, the Mayor asked me a question, so
I've just got the answer. Thank you. The amendment? Councillor McGee?
Yes, I'd speak against the amendment. I think that, you know, it's going up to 12 grand. I think that being a burning martyr to the community with the work that we've done is not going to be to anyone's advantage at all. You know, crucifying ourselves because we made hard decisions, we're going to be making hard decisions in the future. This council's still valid until it goes into the quiet time before the election. So this is as valid a council as any, and it should be remunerated properly. And the next council most certainly deserves to be remunerated because they too will have to make hard decisions. That rate variation was only to maintain services to this community, and that's what we're doing. It wasn't to do anything amazing, and this is certainly, it's not amazing, but I certainly hope that it attracts good people to the council.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Leslie. Ring, thank you.
No, just put the vote for the amendment, thank you.
I'll put the Councillor Ring's amendment. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Marnie and Councillor Leslie. Councillor Ring. Against? I apologise, Councillor Leslie. Pardon? All right, let's move on. Thank you. The amendment is lost. Now go back to the original motion. Councillor Goodwin, right of reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. I just want to go over a few points in relation to my amendment, my motion. The increased workload. We take on a lot of increased workload that is coming up. We're going to more committee meetings, I feel, than what we have been. The cost of living, like all individuals, councils also face the cost of living. Attracting and retaining talent. This pay rise can offer competitive pay rates and can help attract and retain talented individuals who are passionate about serving their community. Professional development. We're often needed to attend training sessions and conferences to stay up to date on best practice and regulations, which can be costly. Inflation, the cost of goods and services continue to rise, requiring councils to stretch their salary even further to cover basic expenses. Time commitment, which is a big one. Serving as a councillor is a full-time job, often requiring long hours and making it difficult for councillors to take on any additional work. Financial strain. Many councillors face financial strain due to the demands of their role and their current salaries, which can impact their abilities to effectively serve the constituents. The value of the role of councillors play a crucial role in shaping our future, and a pay rise can demonstrate the value that society places on our work. Equity within other roles. Councillors often earn less than other professions with similar levels of responsibility and expertise, making a pay rise necessary to ensure fairness. And public perception. A pay rise for councillors can help change the public perception of the role, showing that it's valued and respected by the community. Everyone deserves a pay rise. Councillor Leslie said that last time. Happy for us to start to get paid what we actually for what we actually do and for our time.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. I'll put the vote. All those in favour say aye. I will take a division on that. Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Marnie, Councillor McGee, Councillor Leslie, and Councillor Coleman and Councillor Statham. Against was Councillor Marnie and Councillor Ring. So the motion was not defeated. Thank you.
Move that we have a 5-minute recess to stretch our legs.
How many items have we got to go?
Quite a few.
All right. I have a seconder for that, please. All those in favour say aye. Right. 5 minutes only, councillors. Councillor McGee, Councillor Goodwin seconded. All those in favour say aye. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Sale of land for unpaid rates. Can I have a move?
Happy to move.
Only a quick question. No addresses because of a privacy issue? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's all right.
Look, I don't need to speak long to this. This is a procedural matter. It's standard practice for councils. There will be options for people to resolve this before it goes to auction. I think we just, move on with it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
I just have a question. The average is about 5-6 years, but we've got a 10, an 18, and 12 years of unpaid rates arrears. A year's outstanding. I'd just like to know how we've got that to that point.
Mr. Gurney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, we did undertake a somewhat overdue sale of land for unpaid rates process only a couple of years ago. We're making sure that we're onto this much more frequently with our rates and revenue manager. There were some properties that were included in the last sale which either didn't sell or there were payment arrangements made at the last minute that weren't fulfilled, and hence they've ended up in this sale.
Thank you.
The other person wishing, Councillor Cole.
Yeah, I have no issues with the recommendation and I'm going to support it. I just have some questions. I know that there are 16 properties held on the council records that we're hoping to recoup unpaid rates. My question is, are these properties vacant? If not, what happens to the occupant once the property is sold? Hopefully we won't get to that stage, but I'm just curious in regards to that.
Mr. Gurney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, it is possible, although unlikely, that there may be an owner living in a house when it is sold. Council has full right to sell the property, and then they would have to make alternate living arrangements.
Sorry, through you, Mayor. Do they get a notice to say to evict? Is that what happens?
Through you, Mayor Statham, just like any normal sale process, the ownership of the block is transferred to, it goes through a process, and the proceeds are distributed where council obtains the value of the debt owing plus the cost of the process, and any remaining proceeds do go to the owner. So it's then on the, council is selling the land to recoup the rates, and then the owner may have to find an alternative address.
And just to add to that, of course, right up until the day of auction, council continues to negotiate and work with the landowners. Most often, what the commencement of this process does is it causes the landowner to step forward and go into a payment plan or to pay the full rates. So we continue to negotiate. So if there's a particular circumstance that becomes apparent between now and auction, i.e. that the house is occupied and there's some duress being caused to that landowner, we continue to try and push them into a payment plan.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
General Manager. Just one moment, please, Councillor O'Connor. Mr. Gurney will still speak to that. Thank you.
Sorry, just to clarify, Councillor Coleman too, because obviously we sell it at auction, so there's a new owner and they have the right to take that property. And I was just trying to explain that some of the proceeds will probably end up with the current owner anyway. Council only takes the value of the debt.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I'm wondering if any of these blocks of land are down in Morgan Valley, because if they are, it wouldn't be very fair to sell somebody up if they can't get down to do anything to their land for the last 3 or 4 years.
Good point, Councillor O'Connor.
I don't have the details before me, but I'm prepared to absolutely guarantee that there's no properties involved. And in fact, we're very much ring-fenced that community. We understand the duress they're under. We would not be taking anything to compound hardship to that community, including financial hardship.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor O'Connor and Mr General Manager. Any other person wishing to speak? Councillor McGee?
Yes, it is reassuring to hear that, you know, people's hardship is being taken into account, and if there is someone owning and living in that house or in a house that is coming up for auction, then the hardship payments can be arranged and that these things will be taken into account. Because by the look at the duration of some of these properties since they've been paid, it will just clean up the town to a fair degree. A lot of these will be vacant properties that people have bought because they were cheap, and then are just sitting on until they might be worth something. But at least this way, someone who may actually do something with the property, hopefully will purchase it and help clean up the town and improve us all.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Any other people wishing to speak? Right of reply, please, to the mover, Councillor Ring.
No, just put it, please.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Coleman, are you voting or not? Unanimous, thank you. Without Councillor Leslie, thank you. Page 52, policy 8.44, debt management and hardship policy. I have a mover, thank you.
Happy to move it.
Councillor Bryce.
I'll second.
I've got you down, so I saw you like go on. Councillor Ring is seconder. Thank you. Councillor Bryce, thank you.
Sorry, it's good to see this being reviewed, and the point here, it says the review was carried out to ensure consistency, fairness, integrity and confidentiality in the management and recovery of debt from both the ratepayer and the debitor and the council. I think that's ensure consistency and fairness is a really big
Councillor Ring, thank you.
Look, on page 9, it says interest can be waived, and I think that's good, particularly if people are under hardship or duress. So I think, yeah, basically it's a good report.
Ring. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yeah, just briefly.
Councillor Marnie.
Just noting no legal proceedings will be taken against eligible pensioners. So I'm assuming, through your mayor to the staff, that they'll hold a debt against the property if they're unable to deal with it and not find themselves travelling into an auction.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Mr. Burney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, that is correct, Councillor Marnie.
I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second.
This has been a long process and a costly process for council to get to this point, and we need to acknowledge that if we do get this money, it's not going to cover the cost that all these projects, plans, and everything else are going in, and it's a great project. It's going to be a long haul still. Even if we get the money for the guys down at Walgan, it's going to be a really long haul. But it's good to see that we're trying to progress it through the government to get the money to get it started. Thank you, staff.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Goodwin.
Yeah, this is, again, really good that, that this is going to this meeting so I can get all approved by the end of the month. John, his team, the GM, Ross, have all done a great job in getting it to this stage, getting the planning up. We've gone out to a consultant, which has helped, which is fantastic. They're really hard to get, especially good ones that can work on developments like this. I can only see what we've done with this, the tripartite agreement that we have with the roads and with the government, this all going smoothly. It will now go ahead faster than, hopefully, than what we would have expected. But it's still a long process.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin.
I have a question, if I may, Mayor Statham.
Certainly, Councillor.
For you to the administration. I've read the report. I just need clarification on extending the contract to Wasabi. Was that part of the original contract? Was there an extension clause in it? How has this occurred? And what were the options for it?
Mr. Richkin, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham, through you. The original engagement with Wasabi Group was a month-to-month engagement that remained under the tender threshold. However, the continued engagement of that firm will exceed tender requirements, so it's only prudent that we report to the council, clearly explain the competitive process of procurement that was undertaken to select Wasabi, and commence a formal engagement. We commenced that month-to-month engagement just because of the immediacy and the need to get moving on the application, and the requirement to generate that really that initial momentum required.
So if I could just a little bit further clarify. So that original contract allowed for it to go to a more permanent arrangement?
Mr. Richkin, thank you.
Absolutely. The original design brief was for it prioritised the initial 4 months up to the application, but suggested that there would be the capacity to prolong that engagement for the remainder of the project, subject to council resolution.
No, thank you, Mr. Hitchkin. That allays any concerns I may have had.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchkin and Councillor Ring. Anyone else wishing? Councillor Coleman?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Statham. My understanding is that we already have the funds. Is that correct? Or is this application going to get the funds? That's what I'm a bit confused about.
Mr. Hitchkin, thank you.
A relatively small percentage has been prepaid to the council to allow us to continue with design and investigation. It's funded the works to date, essentially, and will continue to fund work whilst the application's assessed. But the remainder of the funds definitely haven't been received yet. And I'll just reiterate that even if we do receive the funding, it's not an approval to proceed. We would still need to undertake rigorous environmental and cultural assessments and obtain those relevant approvals.
If I may, Mayor Statham, in regards to cultural assessments, I note that you've met 2 occasions where the Minyan Wiradjuri Aboriginal Corporation, sorry, I'm really tired and I'm not well, so I'm stuttering a bit tonight. Wiradjuri, thank you. Are you also meeting with other corporations, Indigenous corporations?
Mr. Hitchkin, thank you.
We met and continue to meet with the Mingan Aboriginal Corporation as the predominant local group interested in the site. However, we are also engaging with the local Aboriginal Lands Council from Bathurst.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchkin. Councillor O'Connor, thank you.
Yes, one positive thing out of all this, the Emirates, they've still got 12 people employed, painting, doing all the road works, doing everything, on the event that's going to open in the next 3 or 4 years or 5. So that's very positive for tourism and for the area.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor, definitely. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor McGee?
Yes, I think it's highly commendable the amount of work that council, councillors, but primarily the staff have put into overseeing this proposal, getting it to this stage and ready for submission in the quality document that it is. You know, this has taken a lot of doing, but also in keeping the people in the Walgan Valley informed of just exactly where we are in this process, and that continues right now. So congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. If there's no other...
I'll just speak briefly. I'll just, like all the speakers, I've got to acknowledge the staff. This is probably one of the most significant sort of regional local government projects, and to take something of this scale on is extremely challenging. So, you know, I appreciate all the work that's gone in there, and obviously I think all the councillors are very mindful of the 10-year period that this is going to be for the community down there. It's a very emotionally taxing episode in their life. So But I thank the staff for their work on this. Thanks.
I'll put the motion. If there's no right of reply, Councillor Rice? No. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Without Councillor Leslie attend. Five now, thank you. Delegations to the General Manager during caretaker period, the 16th of August to the 13th of September 2024. Can I have a mover? Thank you.
I'll move this.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Have a seconder? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce, thank you.
This is just a standard procedure at the end of each council term and moving into the new term, so there's not much to say about this one.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Ring.
No, I concur. It's a purely administrative function. There's no need to debate.
Is there any debate on this? If not, I'll put the motion. If there's no right of reply, all those in favour say aye. Thank you. Carried. Page 78.
Mayor Statham, we haven't dealt with the civic ballroom floor replacement.
Oh no, thank you,
If
Councillor.
we could deal with that first, then we can do all the meetings.
Yes. I too would like to congratulate Jonathan and some of his staff for the outstanding work that has been taken now that that motion has moved and declared carried. It's been an enormous document, so well done. It's due on the 30th and I believe it's almost ready to be go now. So congratulations, Jonathan and your staff. Item number 3.12, civic ballroom floor replacement. Could I
Happy
have
to move it.
Thank you.
Happy to second.
Councillor Ring.
It's a long overdue. I just have one question. Will it be fixed in time for the Scots ball? No, I don't care about that.
Very soon. No, not a. I think it's only a couple of weeks.
Ball's only 2 weeks away.
2 weeks or a week or something.
Scots ball.
Yeah, Scots ball, October. Oh, September.
I don't think anyone would have the answer to that, Councillor Ring. They might have to take that on notice, I think. Thank you.
Do you have it?
No. Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, once we appoint the contractor and they've got surety, I'll get a project plan from them and I can circulate it to interested councillors by way of memo.
Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe. Anybody, Councillor Coleman?
I had the same question, but my understanding is the Catholic ball's in a couple of weeks. But yeah, the Highland ball's on the 13th of September, so a timeline would be appreciated.
Coleman. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I just want to find out where Westbury Constructions, where are they from?
Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, the quickest Google search of my life. Westbury Constructions are Western Sydney based from Vineyard.
Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe. Councillor McGee?
Yes, I'd just like to, I'd imagine that the floor is being replaced with a similar quality wooden floor. And I know that the damage, it was pretty much replaced by MDF and stuff, but there would still be a substantial amount of good quality wood coming out of there. And I'd just like to know that that's what's going to happen to that. Will it be offered to local men's sheds and things like that, or because there's quite a bit of wooden flooring, I dare say, is going to be replaced there.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Mr. Edgecombe.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. I would propose we follow a very similar process to that which we followed with the bridge repairs. Any reused timber, I would suggest or reusable timber, I would suggest we run through the operations committee, decide on an appropriate use, and then a resolution from council.
Edgecombe, Councillor McGee. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Ring?
No, just put it, please.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. I'll stay on the document, the second document, thank you. 3.1, Economic Development Committee, 19th of June 2024.
Councillor, Mayor Statham, can we approve all the committee meetings minutes as one, as we voted previously?
Seconded for that, Councillor Bryce.
I'm happy to second that.
All
We
right.
still ask questions because I'd like to.
Yes. All right. No. No.
So the process would be that we haven't practiced this yet, but it is in the code of meeting practice. But the finer detail is that you move them as a block unless a councillor wishes to speak on a matter, and then the councillor calls that particular matter out. So the mayor will ask, are there any items that the councillors wish to speak on? And if you can just indicate which ones, and they'll be pulled out, and all the others can then be moved as a block.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. So the seconder was, who seconded that? Councillor Ring. Is there any debate on that? Thank you. No, I'll do that when it's. I've got to get this moved first. Is there any debate on that? Thank you.
I just want to speak about the Women's Advisory Committee minutes.
Thank you.
Yes, so the construct of the motion that's being moved is that all of the minutes be endorsed as a block, with the exception of the Women's Advisory Committee minutes, and we'll open up that item.
Yep, happy with that.
Yes, yes. Can I have, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Coleman, Women's Advisory.
Yes, please. I'm happy to move this, or is it moved separately, or is it moved?
No, separately.
Separately? So, okay, so I'm happy to move this.
And I'll second it.
There's only a few things I wanted to say. One, I'd like to congratulate Karina Dodd being elected Deputy Chairperson of the committee. The discussion was actually really interesting and quite educational. I really enjoyed this meeting, and I'd like to congratulate the staff in providing support to the committee, the new committee that was formed. And I want to acknowledge the fact that the recommendation is about advocacy and community engagement, and I really feel as though that this committee is back on track. And so thank you to the staff for putting the effort into this committee, because they need to be acknowledged for that.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman, and I'd like to say also that Mr. Elwood, you did a fine lot of work getting that underway. Thank you.
Just a question, Ms. Statham.
And Christina, yes.
Are all councillors allowed on committees to go in and have a look at the committees?
You can be you can certainly go to all committee meetings, but you're not allowed to vote if you're not on that particular committee. But you can certainly be in the room, and I believe you can ask questions.
Ask questions and
we're at council on the night of the Women's Advisory Committee, and we're advised by council that we weren't allowed in.
Just one moment, Mr. Etchman and Mr. Trapp, you're moving all those papers, and I'm sorry, I cannot, I cannot hear. Councillor Goodwin, please say that again.
Sorry, Councillor O'Connor and I were here on the night of the Women's Advisory Committee. We had a little bit of time. We were going to sit in, but we were advised we weren't allowed to. Councillor Coleman.
Apologise to them.
I thought they were kidding. I thought it was a joke. I'm sorry, but I didn't realise it was an actual serious question. I thought they were just having a fun joke with me. So
I chair that committee, and I'd rather you not say men are welcome. Thank you.
It's not. That was not my intention. So I thought they were having a go at me. I thought it was a joke, and I thought, no, I just thought it was a joke they were having at me. So I didn't take it seriously. So anybody's welcome to any committee.
Let's move on. Thank you. Yes, we're moving the Women's Advisory. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. They declare carried. So that's all there. Where are we up to? 86.
Are we at matters of great urgency?
No, we're on page 86 in the original agenda. Delegates report, Rural and Regional Summit and Country Mayors Association meeting the 9th to the 10th of May 2024. Could I have somebody move this, please?
I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Mr. Gurney will speak to that. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham. This is the delegates' report on the Rural and Regional Summit and the Country Mayors Association meeting, which was held in Sydney in May. It was a great opportunity for myself and particularly the Mayor to advocate to ministers of the state government on critical matters for Lithgow, and also to hear from the Premier, who addressed the Rural and Regional Summit.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney. Anybody else wishing to speak?
I moved it. I'd like to speak to it.
Yes, there's no other debate. Councillor Coleman, thank you.
So in the commentary, I note that when you spoke to the minister, you spoke about a roundabout and lights, which is great. I was wondering, the next time we have the opportunity to speak to the minister in regards to for regional transport and roads, whether we could mention the fact that we would need funding directed towards fixing the draining and sewer at Rifle Parade and Enfield Avenue, which connects up with West Lithgow Main Street, which is actually a state responsibility, and that has been neglected for a long period of time. So if we have another opportunity, I'd like that raised. So it's Rifle Parade and Enfield Avenue, which connects up with West Lithgow Main Street, which is a state responsibility, that area. They've had drainage and sewer issues ongoing, and it's been neglected for a long period of time, and it actually is a state road, my understanding. So if we get the opportunity, no, it's not. So if Mr. Edgecombe could advise on that, that'd be great.
Mr. General Manager would like to comment on that.
I'm instructed that it's not a state road. However, of course, it's a major carrier road, and it disrupts one of the dominant roads through Lithgow. So soon we're doing the detailed designs through that area to amplify the drainage, and then once we've got those detailed designs, then we'll know how much we need to advocate for grants. So I'm certain that in that advocacy we will include the Minister for Roads, not quite her remit, but it is a major carrier road, of course, from the Bellsliner Road and through Lithgow.
Yeah, so is that work currently undertaking?
Yeah.
All right. So that's great.
Sorry, Cassandra.
No. I'll finish on that. I'll just finish on another point is it was also stated in the report that the Minister for Regional Transport and Roads mentioned a new corridor strategy for the Great Western Highway over the Blue Mountains, which is being funded by the Australian government and delivered by the New South Wales government. Did she go into details in regards to that?
Mr. Gurney, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, no, we don't have any details yet. I will have a look for some details and send an email to councillors in that regard. However, the strategy is basically, would be similar to the proposal of the tunnel from Blackheath.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Statham, can I just...
Councillor Bryce.
Okay.
What I gather about the Blue Mountains new corridors is another study.
Yes, it is.
It's another study rather than more work being carried out there, which again, how many studies have we had over the years? So it gets a bit disappointing.
Councillor Marnie, thank you.
Just to clarify that last point, sorry to get into technical. So are we saying that West Main Street is a council road, or is it in another category?
Mr. Edgecombe, thank you.
West Main Street itself is a state road, but the underlying stormwater is all managed by Lithgow City Council,
Okay.
the council assets.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other debate? Thank you. Right of reply, Councillor Coleman, thank you.
No, that's fine, thanks.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. (5.2) Central New South Wales Joint Organisation Board meeting, the 23rd of May 2024. Could I have a mover for that? Thank you.
I'll second
Councillor
it.
Bryce. Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce?
Sorry, Councillor Coleman, can you turn your microphone off, thank you? No comment.
No, it's a straightforward report. Thank you.
Page 90, Bushfire Management Committee, meetings held the 6th of February and the 4th of June 2022. Could I have a mover for that? Thank you.
I'll move it.
Councillor Bryce?
Yeah, I'm happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Bryce?
Pretty straightforward minutes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marnie?
We discussed anything that needed to be discussed earlier, so.
Thank you. No other debate?
No, I have a question if I...
Councillor McGee?
Didn't we vote to put all the minutes together? Oh, it's a committee, yeah.
Councillor Ring?
On page 411, it states that the preparation of an RF for Hassan's Walls is the only item required to be undertaken to undertake hazard reduction. I pursued hazard reduction for Hassan's Walls post the 2019 fires when I was Deputy Mayor, because we were very lucky Hassan's Walls didn't go up during those fires. Got very close to them. And I'm just dismayed that it's taken so long. Why has it taken so long for the RAF to get this done? I mean, it hasn't been burnt for decades. There are serious issues with the reserve if a fire hits. I just don't understand.
Sorry, the RAF itself was delivered, or that document was delivered by Mr. Elwood's department. I'd like to pass to him for that query.
Mr. Elwood, thank you.
A survey of vegetation was commissioned for Hassan's Walls, and a survey of cultural heritage and values was also undertaken. So those two items have been prepared. I know that's those have been received by council and received by the Environment Committee. Those documents do not comprise an REF. They support an REF.
Okay, when are we going to get an REF so we can get a hazard reduction to Hassan's Walls? We get a bad fire season this year, the town's at risk.
I will have to take that on notice and provide that advice by way of memorandum to the councillors.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
General Manager. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Bryce, right a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Declared carried. Thank you. Matters of great urgency tonight. Anyone with matter of...
I have something.
Yes, Councillor Coleman.
I met with Tina James at McGrath Lithgow the other day. She explained to me that she's been having sewer issues in the location between 35 and 31 Reed Avenue. She's been contacting the council on a regular basis without much luck. Can we have someone look at that? I'm happy to pass this on so that we get some attention to it, because I've even got photos here of sewage coming up through a tenant's lounge room floor, and it's quite substantial amount that's coming through the property. So can I send this off to Mr. Trapp? Is that okay?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Yeah, I'm deeming it to be urgent, but not matters of great urgency, so that Mr. Trapp will get look into that tomorrow, if at all possible.
That'd be very appreciated. Thank you.
I don't think this is a matter of great urgency, but I'd like to say thank you for the new fencing around the Queen Elizabeth Park. That's
Yay. Thank you, Councillor Bryce. The meeting has closed this evening at 9:35. Thank you for attending. Thank you to the public gallery that's been patient.